Proven model for the future workforce. And our presenters today are Michelle Dijon, Angela Rogers, Jenny Hampton, Lawrence Winburn, and Sean Campbell. And they are with the Kentucky Office of Employment and Apprenticeship Services.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can I be heard okay? Awesome.
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for joining us for National Apprenticeship Week. If you hadn't heard, we're excited. Here in the Commonwealth, we're celebrating Apprenticeship Week all month long because apprenticeship is a proven solution for our workforce needs. I'd like to personally thank KTECH for hosting this event and to supporting registered apprenticeship as it delivers the difference in the Commonwealth. National Apprenticeship Week is a nationwide celebration that brings together business leaders, career seekers, laborers, apprentices, educational institutions, and other critical partners to demonstrate their support for registered apprenticeship, as well as highlight the successes and value of registered apprenticeship in rebuilding our economy, advancing racial and gender equity, and supporting underserved communities. It's a week-long celebration and highlights the benefits of registered apprenticeship in preparing a diverse, inclusive, highly skilled workforce to meet the talented needs of employers across a diverse industries. So please visit apprenticeship.gov if you want to see what else is happening for National Apprenticeship Week. Thank you for the interviews of the apprentices earlier in the session. The benefits of registered apprenticeship are substantial for both career seekers and employers. These earn and learn models enable employers to fill open jobs, improve productivity and profitability, and reduce turnover while providing the American workforce with pathways to start new careers and acquire skills for good jobs. Here in Kentucky, we have some great facts. Completers have increased in registered apprenticeship over the last 5 years by 264%. That's just incredible growth and expansion of registered apprenticeship here in the Commonwealth. Salaries range from $45,353 to $72,412. So apprenticeship is a solution for employers. In 2019, our highest completers 1-year retention is at 87.2%. So this is a retention program. After 10 years, 71% of Kentucky apprentices are employed, making a median wage of $72,412. Today, we have 408 apprentices in healthcare and social assistance occupations. And apprenticeship in the utilities industry are earning over $100,000 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years out. So hopefully that summarizes, and you'll learn more today, that registered apprenticeship is a workforce solution that can take someone who knows nothing about an occupation and then turn them into a skilled career employee by the end of their apprenticeship, which means it addresses recruitment, training, and retention. So let me turn over today's agenda to Mr. Lawrence Winburn with the Kentucky Career Center's Office of Employer and Apprenticeship Services. The floor is yours, sir.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so very much. Well, a proven model for the future workforce. What I want to do is introduce our office. Well, you just had the opportunity to hear from our Executive Director, Michelle Dijon. And this is the state approving agency that I'm referring to. We also have a Deputy Director, Tim Wireman, who is also on the call. He's in the meeting with us. We have apprenticeship and training representatives, which is the ATRs, and registered apprenticeship program coordinators would be Sean Campbell and Angela Rogers, and workforce development consultant and with the specialty in registered apprenticeship is going to be myself. All right. What I'd like to do next, Angela, you're going to advance the slides there for us?
Just a second, Lawrence. Having technical.
No, you're perfectly fine. I'm going to keep rolling. How's that? Some of the responsibilities of the apprenticeship and training representative, or what we call, you'll hear us in the conversation say ATR. We oversee and manage the federal reporting system for the Kentucky State Approving Agency. We address questions and regulatory issues using the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 2929 and Title 2930, along with the Kentucky 787 KAR. We also register and oversee all the registered apprenticeship programs in Kentucky. We provide technical assistance and support. We answer questions about the apprenticeship model. We guide partners through the steps to develop and design registered apprenticeship program. We connect businesses with training providers. We advise partners on sources of funding to support apprenticeships. We also conduct registered apprenticeship program quality assurance reviews. Because here comes the fun part, y'all. We're getting ready to get to the fun part. I need my slides for the next part, y'all. So Angela,
Hey, Lauren,
can I
sorry
share-
to interrupt you. She's having technical difficulties. I'm gonna share my slides. Give me just a second.
okay, you're good, brother. You're good. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up the next group of slides, you all. So this next group of slides, and we're gonna it's gonna be we're gonna address some of the myths on registered apprenticeship. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the truths and the myths of registered apprenticeship. All right, Sean, as soon as you get that up, I can't wait to get into this piece, y'all.
I apologize here.
Fine, buddy. That's the way Zoom and all these teams and all that good stuff goes. So we're going to talk about the truths and myths. Now I know you all won't be able to raise your hands and say truth and scream and yell, but if you can yell it. That's fine with me. You can just scream if you want to, okay? But are you good, brother?
Man.
Let me see if I can share my screen. How's that?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
No, you're good. 2 seconds, you all.
Your interlude music.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I should start singing, right? Can y'all see? Let's see here. That probably embarrassed everybody, including myself and the wife and my family. Well, oh my goodness, you all. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Looks good.
Yeah.
We got it.
All right. So apprenticeship is a limited time training program only for large employers or union shops. So is it a truth or a myth? It is a myth. I don't know if you can hear that explosion, but it was a big boom on that one. It is a myth. So let's go take a look at the next one. Small and large businesses, open shops, union shops, organizations, and colleges also sponsor registered apprenticeship programs. Is that a truth or a myth? That is a truth. Yes, we have small, large union shops, you name it, colleges, they all support, and organizations as well, supporting registered apprenticeship programs. All right, apprenticeship is a training program only for building trades. Is that a truth or a myth? And listening to the young folks earlier, it is a myth. It is a myth. All right, let's go to this piece here. We all know the realities of today's labor market. Positions are available. But the workers are not trained to meet the business needs or requirements. Likewise, candidates are not able to secure employment because they lack the skills that businesses seek. Apprenticeship can bridge that gap. The apprenticeship structure as it is today was established in 1937 with the passage of the Fitzgerald Act. Since then, it has continued to evolve with a strong focus on increasing diversity amongst apprentices, industries, and occupations. Now, at this time, I'm going to turn over the presentation to Brother Sean Campbell.
Thank you, Lawrence. As Lawrence said, my name is Sean Campbell, and I'm an apprenticeship and training representative in the Office of Employer and Apprenticeship Services. It's a pleasure being with you here today. So what is registered apprenticeship, you ask? I'm glad you asked. Registered apprenticeships are an industry-driven, high-quality career pathway where employers can develop and prepare their future workforce, and individuals can obtain paid work experience, classroom instruction, and it results in a portable, nationally recognized credential. Registered apprenticeships are recognized by the State Approving Agency and the U.S. Department of Labor. Registered apprenticeships allow you, as the employer, to create your future workforce, improve productivity, and reduce turnover. In almost any occupation or position is apprenticeable. Next slide, please. Here we go. The employer is the foundation of a successful apprenticeship program and must be directly involved from the beginning. The minimum number of OJT hours for apprentices is 2,000 hours, or roughly 1 year. The length of an apprenticeship is dependent on the occupation, of course. OJT is a structured and supervised process with intentional outcomes. For every year of OJT, a minimum of 144 hours of classroom instruction or related instruction is necessary. Related instruction can be front-loaded, ongoing, or segmented. As the apprentice increases their skill set and competencies, an increase in earnings is rewarded. And as I said before, it results in a portable, industry-recognized credential. Next slide. Talked about almost any occupation is apprenticeable. Currently, there's actually more than 1,200. It's probably closer to 1,500 at this time that is recognized by DOL. Again, almost any occupation you can think of, you can see several examples on the slide, but anything that takes time to master can be apprenticeable. Next slide. Like I said, registered apprenticeships are an employer-driven model. An employer can build and manage a program or partner with established program sponsors. Apprentices can be new or incumbent employees, and registered apprenticeship programs benefit the employer and apprentices. Next slide. Apprentices are paid employees who produce high quality work while they learn skills that enhance their employer's needs. OJT develops skilled workers through structured learning in a work setting under the guidance of a mentor. Mentorship provides apprentices with the support of a skilled worker to assist and enhance critical hands-on learning. Next slide. Classroom learning improves job-related skills through education in a classroom setting. This can be done virtual or in person and covers subjects directly related to the apprenticeship. As stated, a minimum of 144 hours of related instruction is required for each year of OJT. The employer has the freedom to deliver related instruction in a variety of ways. It can be done internally by a subject matter expert. You can partner with an education institute. It can be done online or through a combination of different methods. Next slide. Employers establish a progressive wage scale for their registered apprenticeship program. As the apprentice hits benchmarks, which can either be time or competencies, the apprentice is awarded with an increase in wages. A minimum of 1 wage increase is required, but having more than one will keep apprentices engaged and motivated to accomplish the next goal. A fair starting wage for apprentices is at least 40% of a fully qualified worker's salary, but can be more, of course. And because an apprentice is an employee first, wages cannot be below the minimum wage. The progressive wage scale is totally at the employer's preference. Next slide. A portable nationally recognized credential is issued at the completion of the program. This credential guarantees the apprentice is now proficient in that occupation or craft under the tutelage of the employer. This certification is recognized in all 50 states. Next. Apprentices can be new hires or current employees. As Michelle pointed out, the average starting wage at the completion of an apprenticeship is roughly $70,000 a year, which sets the apprentice up to out-earn their peers by as much as $300,000 over their lifetime. Next. Apprenticeship programs help both employers and career seekers. For employers, apprenticeship programs offer the opportunity to recruit and develop a diverse and highly skilled workforce that helps you grow your business, improve productivity, profitability, and your bottom line, reduce turnover, improve loyalty, and retain top talent. Create flexible training options that ensure workers develop the right skills, vet workers and instill your company's culture, demonstrate investment in your community. Apprenticeship is a workforce solution that actively promotes diversity and inclusion in the workplace, including race, gender, sexual orientation, and ability. Studies have shown that for every dollar spent on apprentices, employers can obtain a return of $1.46. In addition, apprentices stay with their employers at a rate of about 94%. Next. Registered apprenticeship is a flexible, employer-driven, work-based learning strategy that can be customized to meet the needs of any business. And next. A registered apprenticeship program is one solution to recruiting, training, and retaining. By having a structured plan of employment, you are showing future apprentices you care about their future. And lastly, a registered apprenticeship program is a great way to drive innovation, increase retention, and create a pipeline of talent. And with that, I will turn it over to Angela.
Hello, everyone. I am Angela Rogers. It's nice to meet you all. Lawrence, if you'll go to the next slide, please. What is an apprentice? An apprentice is a person that is 16 years of age or older who is employed to learn an apprenticeable occupation from a subject matter expert. So this is what it is, and this is what it means. If you're interested in being an apprentice, you have to be 16 or older. Next slide, please. Why should you become an apprentice? It has several different gains that are listed on here. Apprenticeship offers the chance to gain skills that will lead to a higher salary and great opportunities. As an apprentice, you are a full-time employee. You will earn a paycheck while you learn, and it progressively increases wages while you're on the job while you learn. Apprenticeships are available in a variety of occupations, including healthcare, internet, technology, advanced manufacturing, and construction, and many, many more. As you saw when Sean showed the slide about the different registered apprenticeship occupations that we have. So it reaches many different industries. During an apprenticeship, you will be trained on the job by a subject matter expert. You will also participate in classroom instruction that applies directly to your career. Once you complete this apprenticeship, you will receive a national portable certificate, and this credential is recognized in all 50 states and territories. And lastly, the great thing about it, you also build your career and you secure your future. Next slide, please. So how do I become an apprentice? All those that are interested, being an apprentice is like applying for a job. So first you have to identify what it is or occupation that you're interested in doing. In order to do that, you can search through the different types of occupations that are available, and you can find which jobs and industries interest you the most. And this information is available on our website, and you could get to our website with the link below on this slide. So if you haven't decided what you want to do, or you're undecided in what you want to do, then you can contact your local career center to help you with your career exploration. They have individuals over there that help you to guide you and support you in exploring what you want your career to be. That career applies to registered apprenticeship and the occupation that you will fulfill. After you have identified what you are interested in doing, then you use the information that is on our website with the link that is below, and you find the registered apprenticeship program with that occupation that you're interested in pursuing. So after you determine which occupation, and there are multiple, all of our registered apprenticeship programs are listed on our website, then you contact that program directly to apply. Our office does not have anything to do with an apprentice applying for an occupation, but if you get stuck, please contact us so we can direct you to where you need to go. And you can contact us at our apprenticeship@ky.gov. Next slide, please. So again, here's another apprenticeship truth or myth. So apprenticeship is only for the young, non-college bound workers. Is this true or is this a myth? Next slide. It's a myth. Apprenticeship is for all workers. Next slide. Okay, apprenticeship, truth or myth? There are over 1,200 occupations recognized by the US DOL in areas of healthcare, IT, early childhood, accounting, and logistics. Is this a truth or myth? This is true. As Sean stated, there's over 1,500. Okay, we're on the next slide. Our next slide is the reality is apprenticeship is an ideal combination of real work experience and related technical instruction. That related technical instruction is often recognized as academic credit towards college certificates and degrees. It may apply for your internships that are required for your degrees or your co-ops that you have for certain degrees and certificates. That can be applied towards that. Next slide. So how does this work in being and having a registered apprenticeship program? We have a simple registration process. This is our 5-step process to registered apprenticeship. First, you contact our office. That's the Office of Employer and Apprenticeship Services, so that you can discuss your company's workforce needs. We at Registered Apprenticeship help you with that so that you can determine and work through what you need in your office. So 2 is you select the occupation. Out of all those occupations that are listed, they are apprenticeable occupations. So they set the standards. It's good for all 50 states and territories. Everybody goes through the same standards to receive the credentials. So by selecting your occupation, you fill out your paperwork and then you sign your RA standards. You turn it back into us. And then our 3rd step is we register you. So your paperwork's complete, your standards are signed. Once you receive the approval, then you are a part of our national recognized registered apprenticeship family. The 4th step is after you're registered, you are able to start entering your apprentices. So you would include those apprentices in your program. And you provide them with their occupation and your agreement. You as a place of a business would have an agreement with that apprentice. You sign that paperwork because there's certain standards that are needed, like with any employee. So that's how the apprentice starts earning, and that's how the business enters their apprentices into their program. The 5th is once the apprentice completes the program, they will receive the nationally portable credential. And how that works is that we send that to the registration, the program sponsor, which is your place of business. We send it to you, and then you award it to that apprentice. So that is how it works to have a registered apprenticeship program. Next slide. Are there any questions at this time for registered apprenticeship? If you think of any of them later, you could drop it in the chat, or if you think of any of them later, you're more than welcome to email us at apprenticeship@ky.gov. And we can answer any of your questions, whether it's from an employer, whether it's from an apprentice. We can give you the guidance that you need. All right, doesn't look like any questions at this time. So next up, let me introduce you to Jenny Hampton. She is one of our workforce development consultants in our office, and she provides business services. Jenny?
Thank you, Angela, as well as Sean and Lawrence. Apprenticeships are definitely beneficial to all aspects of workforce, so we appreciate that information. My name, like she said, is Jenny Hampton, and I am a regional workforce development consultant in the Office of Employer and Apprenticeship Services. My job is to be a navigator for employers in the Commonwealth to help them understand the various programs and resources available to them. Next slide, please. Well, some of the incentives that we will go over today will be the tax credits, like the Work Opportunity Tax Credit or Wattsy, and the Kentucky, the Kentucky Unemployment Tax Credit, and then federal bonding. So the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, or the Wattsy, as we refer to it, it is a federal tax credit. And it's awarded to Kentucky companies who hire individuals who've consistently faced significant barriers to employment. It provides that financial incentive when hiring workers from targeted demographics, and it helps to reduce an employer's federal income tax liability. The tax credits can range from $1,200 to $9,600 per eligible employee. Next slide, please. The targeted groups that I was referring to, those with significant barriers, are listed here. You have unemployed veterans, that includes those disabled, public assistance recipients that receive TANF and food stamps, individuals who are in designated community areas. You have referrals from vocational rehabilitation, ex-felons. If you're receiving Social Security, summer youth, or long-term unemployment. And there are, when it refers to like long-term and things like that, there are timeframes specified. So, but we can look into all that when you're interested. Next slide, please. So how does the Wattsy work? It does have a time frame, so it has to be completed within the first 28 days of hire. And it can be the paperwork, it all can be submitted online or through mail. And we have a tax credit team who is available to answer questions. And they work specifically with the tax credit, so they're going to be knowledgeable for whatever you need. Next slide, please. Do you care to go back one? I apologize. Thank you. So something I always like to mention is that, we stated that you target groups, you can get a range between $1,200 and $9,600. So if you think about it this way, if you hire an unemployed disabled veteran, you could get up to $9,600 for that individual. If you hire 3 of those, that's almost $30,000 and could be someone's salary for the year. Next slide. Next, we're going to go over and talk about the Kentucky Unemployment Tax Credit. So the Kentucky Unemployment Tax Credit is a state-funded program, and employers can receive up to receive $100 credit for each eligible employee who received unemployment, and they had to be unemployed for 60 days before they came to you, and then you would have to maintain them full time and keep them on your payroll for 180 consecutive days. The good thing about the Kentucky Unemployment Tax Credit is that there's no time frame. So it's not like you have to get it done within the first 28 days of hire. So as long as somebody's still working for you and they've met these requirements, you could claim that credit. Next slide, please. So then one of the next incentives and programs that we administer, I'll say, is federal bonding. It's the federal bonding program. So federal bonding has actually been around for a while. It started in 1966, and it is a limited liability insurance policy that we can provide employers to help mitigate the risk, or to give them a little extra security when hiring the individuals that face barriers. These would be the same target groups of the work opportunity tax credit. So they really go hand in hand. So if you hire one of these individuals, not only can you get a tax credit, but you can also get security against acts of dishonesty. And that can include theft, larceny, embezzlement, and forgery. Now, it doesn't cover poor workmanship, job injuries, and it is not the same kind of bond that people in courthouses and stuff have to get. This one, we will provide at no cost, and we do $5,000. And so if you have one of those acts of dishonesty, all you have to do is file a police report, and then you can recoup that money. You file a police report, you put a claim, and you can recoup that money. I mentioned that it's been around since 1966. The amazing thing is that since 1966, there have only been 1% of claims on a bond. Not just this year, or just in the last few years, but since 1966. A program being around that long is obviously beneficial, and it is definitely something we want to share with the employers of the Commonwealth and with our job seekers who need a little extra support in finding the positions to get a fair chance. Next slide, please. I mentioned that those are the same categories as the work opportunity tax credit. So individuals with disabilities, ex-offenders, public assistance recipients. What's a little different here is that it also includes individuals with poor or no work history, so little to no work history. Those that can be bonded. Next slide, please, if you don't mind. Okay. So a bond is issued as soon as the applicant starts. Okay. The worker must have federal taxes automatically deducted from their pay to be eligible for the bond. So if they're 1099s or self-employed, where they have to pay their own taxes separate, then they would not be eligible. With federal bonding, you can be pre-approved. So if you have employees or potential employees that you want to bond before they start or see if they're eligible, then we can do that. And if you are a job seeker, we can provide the pre-approval so that you can use that to show that, hey, if you hire me, you're going to be protected. So please give me that fair chance. Next slide, please. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Feel free to put them in the chat. You can also send an email to apprenticeship@ky.gov, and then they can send that over to me or to one of my colleagues as we cover the whole state. Michelle?
Thanks, Jenny. Excellent job, registered apprenticeship team and Jenny. A couple of things I just wanted to add or comment on is we had Jenny join this presentation because apprentices are eligible for the work opportunity tax credit and the bond. An apprenticeship is an employment, so that is an incentive for employer participation. So if an employer brings on an apprentice from a targeted population, they could be eligible for the work opportunity tax credit program and also for the federal bonding program. Are there any questions?
Oh, Michelle, let me add that with the federal bonding, it is not just for new employees. It can also be used as termination prevention or if someone's changing positions within a company. Okay, thank you.
Thank you again, everyone. Well, Kim, it looks like we ended a little early.
Michelle, I just would like to reiterate some of the team's presentation today. I'm Tim Wireman. I'm Deputy Director here in the office. And just keep in mind some of the takeaways. Registered apprenticeship allows an individual to be trained to a specific business model and a specific work environment for that employer out there participating. In that respect, it's kind of a develop your own talent and mentor that talent to success. It's employer designed and driven. I guess most importantly, apprentice is a paid employee, so it allows them to earn a living while they're out there working and learning. And if I can just rewind back to my days in the field, turning wrenches, mentors are so important to an apprentice, and that is already the skilled workforce that exists at that workplace or at that location. They're very important to that apprentice, and over time they form a bond, and sooner than later that apprentice becomes a skilled employee and part of that skilled workforce at that place of business. And for brevity's sake, that's all I'll say. Thank you.
Well, thank you to the speakers from the Kentucky Office of Employment and Apprenticeship Services. We have Scott Elder out there who actually works with registered apprenticeships here at Hazard Community Technical College. Scott, do you want to take any questions at this time?
Sure. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
We've had a little bit of a shy group today, Scott. So do you have anything you would like to add to the presentation?
Well, you know, unfortunately, my video clip that we had kind of ran long. We had to cut it short.
Yeah.
So I guess I could add in the part that was cut off. What I was saying was that the employer who was having, excuse me, let me get my camera turned on. The employer that I was working with that was having the problem hiring long-time experienced workers, he finally reached out to me and asked how apprentices could help him. And so I explained to him that, you know, we could take a young person who was not fully trained and essentially make them they are a unmolded clay that the employer can shape to be able to learn the skills and to apply those skills in the way that meets that employer's needs. And by taking a young person who is still learning, they don't have those preconceived notions that they know it all. And this was the issue that the employer was having by hiring those individuals who had been working the job 10, 20 years. They all believed they knew it all and knew how to do the job and didn't want anybody telling them how to do it differently. So by taking these young men who are in these trades programs, they could come in and are willing to learn both from their instructors at the school, but also from the mentors. These mentors have decades of experience. Some are approaching retirement. And so rather than let all that experience and that knowledge and that wisdom walk out the door and be lost, he wants to combine or join these mentors and apprentices together so that knowledge and wisdom and experience can be imparted on the apprentice. So when it does come time for that mentor to retire, the apprentice will hopefully by that time have learned so much that he can just step right in seamlessly and take the place of the retiring mentor. That way there's no break in production, there's no time lost from having a vacancy, and everything just flows smoothly. And with that, as the national percentages have shown, those who go through apprenticeships often have a tighter bond with their employer, not just being the employer-employee, but of a mentor and student. And that's usually a tighter bond that forms more loyalty. And the hope is that when they will become an employee who goes from hire to retire. And that helps eliminate issues with turnover and things of that nature. So that's the part that I really like about apprenticeships, how it cannot just be a temporary fix to some of the employers' workforce needs, but it could hopefully solve them long-term as well.
It seems like that would go for pretty much any industry then, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's not just the trades, but we see it in healthcare. There's so many shortages of nurses and other skilled healthcare workers. Any amount of that or any of those industries could benefit from an apprenticeship being used to fill those needs. And in some cases, one thing that I'm trying to work with here in this region is to take KTECH students who have maybe earned their CNA and then put them into either an LPN apprenticeship or maybe one of the other healthcare professions, entry positions, get them through those apprenticeships, get them graduated, and then hopefully they'll even want to move on to even more advanced apprenticeships. And when they move on, a new graduate group of students who have come through KTECH and earned apprenticeships there will move right in and take their place. So it's priming that talent pipeline and getting it to constantly flow, moving people through from beginning positions to more advanced positions, and constantly flowing those high school students into other positions once they reach adulthood.
That's a good point. That's a good point. That it's you start them young, and once they graduate from high school, they can keep the flow going and go straight into those adult apprenticeships. For those folks that missed that part of the video, can you just remind us what industry that business was in? Okay, so the one that I'm working with right now is with Mead Tractor. They're a John Deere dealership and maintenance facility throughout the state of Kentucky. So John Deere has asked KCTCS to help them statewide provide apprenticeships. The other one I'm working with is in a local industry. We're still not finalized that, so I really don't want to share the name of the company, but it is associated with the coal mines and the trades that they use to support miners. So it's a company that's local to Hazard, quite large, and they hopefully will get 7 or 8 different apprentices out of this partnership that they want to form with the Hazard community. That's good. That's good to hear. I know that we've recently acquired CBS as taking some apprentices, and their apprentices actually have to be 18. So once we would only be able to put seniors in those positions, seniors that have already made it to 18. And but some employers have made the steps to decrease that age. We're going to hear from ARH next, and they have made changes in their policy to accommodate the youth apprentices. But what I was getting at with the CVS is that, we follow them until they're, 21 on our grant. But the adult apprenticeship services, how is there an age group that you normally take these apprentices in? Is there some kind of qualifications that they have to be an apprentice?
Absolutely not. I mean, our apprenticeships essentially start with a graduate high school, leave your program, and then we can take young new students graduated from high school, or we can take incumbent workers. I have a lot of most of the apprentices we're looking at working with would be considered non-traditional students. A lot of them have been retired or laid off from the coal mines, so now they're looking to apply those skills they learned within the mines to go somewhere else. So some of them are in their 30s, they have families. We have some that are in the 40s. So it's not just new unemployed students that we can work with. We can work with incumbent workers, people who are already employed with your business. People have shown great character and have all the attributes of the ideal employee that you want, but they might not be skilled enough to move up into another position. We can take that person and get them into an apprenticeship so that they can move up within your organization. So age really isn't a factor at all with an apprentice. You can be fresh out of high school, or you could be, a grandfather. And so it really doesn't matter, as long as you are willing and eager to learn and to grow and to adapt. Those are the characteristics that employers need in their employees so that they can fulfill all the needs that they have within their business.
That was useful information. Thank you, Scott. We loved hearing from you, and thank you very much for speaking to us today. And I want to introduce Dylan Baker. He is the Systems Director at Appalachian Regional Healthcare Hospital. Whoa, tongue-tied today. It's been a long day. Dylan Baker at ARH. He is the Systems Director and Talent Acquisition, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Sorry about that, Dylan. But the session today that we have Dylan scheduled for is investing in the future through apprenticeships. Dylan, do you want to go ahead and start, or do you need to wait until the 2 o'clock mark?
I'm good to go ahead. I'm good to go ahead and start.
Great. Okay. Take it away, Dylan.
All right. So if you don't care, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Okay.
I have a little presentation here that I would like to share with the group.
All right.
All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. So thank you for that introduction. My name is Dylan Baker, and I'm the System Director of Talent Acquisition for Appalachian Regional Healthcare. And Kimberly, you were absolutely right. That is a mouthful. But kind of my duties here for the organization include that I'm the head of all things recruitment for the organization. I'm also the head of retention, employee engagement, and I'm also heavily involved with the marketing operations for the organization as well. And kind of falling under that category, it includes program and project implementation from an HR standpoint. And that kind of developed my involvement with the KTECH program. So I've led the KTECH program for our organization for the last couple of years, and I've seen great success, which I'll discuss much more in detail here in just a few moments. Today I wanted to use this time to discuss that success, answer some of the frequently asked questions that I've gotten in regards to the program, and to just kind of provide some insight on how this process worked for our organization specifically. Next slide. Next slide. I have someone here assisting me with the slides, so I apologize. Here we go. All right. So Appalachian Regional Healthcare, we were founded in 1956. So we've been in operations for over 65 years now. We own and operate 13 hospitals currently, and we're actually adding our 14th hospital on December 1st. So we're extremely, extremely excited for that. We serve primarily Eastern Kentucky and Southern West Virginia. Now, as I mentioned, we are a large healthcare system. So we're actually able to provide quality care to over 400,000 residents throughout Eastern Kentucky and Southern West Virginia. We have been recognized as the leading healthcare provider for over 65 years. That's directly influenced by the fact that we have over 20 service lines and 30 different specialties. And our top 3 service lines include cardiology, neurology, and cancer care. In addition to that, we also have been recognized as the largest employer in our region with over 6,000 team members. And we've been recognized as actually one of the Kentucky's top 10 best places to work. So today, what I'm going to be doing is the main purpose for me being on here today is to kind of give some insight on the KTECH program that we have implemented through partnerships with our local education systems. Okay, so what is the KTECH program? I'll kind of kick it off. As you guys can see from a PowerPoint perspective, I have a few questions on here, and I'll kind of just be answering some of these questions that I get frequently. So the first one is, what is the KTECH program? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the official definition and then kind of break that definition down just a little bit more. So the official definition is, of course, the KTECH stands for Kentucky Advanced Technical College High. And it's a grant-funded project awarded from the United States Department of Education. The KTECH partners with HCTC and our local high school students, our local high schools, as well as several different employers in efforts to place high school students grade 9 through 12 in STEM apprenticeships and high-demand jobs within the healthcare and IT fields. Of course, those fields have been identified based on employer needs. So the simple definition of the KTECH program, or the way that I often refer to or define the KTECH program, is that the KTECH program is a program designed to provide an opportunity of exposure and experience to the students throughout the HCTC service areas that will overall better prepare them to enter into the workforce and or further their education into the healthcare / IT industry once they graduate. One of the next questions that we often get asked is, what has ARH been able to do through the KTECH program? Through the KTECH program, we've been able to do quite a bit. And one thing that we've really been able to do is our organization has always been heavily involved with our local high schools. But through this KTECH program, we've actually been able to expand our involvement with our high schools partners. We've always had a strong passion for supporting the youth throughout Appalachia, but we didn't have a really solid program back on this passion until the KTECH program was developed. So what this program does is it allows our organization to bring in our high school students into the doors of a large healthcare system, essentially. Through this program, we're able to offer shadowing opportunities to students as early as their freshman year, and then paid employment opportunities as early as their junior year. In partnership with the local high schools, we're also offering some co-op opportunities, which allows the students to leave school a little bit earlier to come into work. And to date, we've actually been able to bring in over 30 KTECH apprentices into the doors of ARH. And we've had tremendous success, which of course I'll go into much more detail about here in just a few minutes. One of the next questions that we often get asked is, how did you implement the KTECH program? It's not really a simple question. We had to do quite a bit of legwork on the back end to actually get this program kicked off and implemented into the organization. Because the KTECH concept, it wasn't really something that our organization was used to. What this concept offered was that we would be hiring juniors and seniors, some of which would be 16 and 17 years old. We would be hiring them to actually become an ARH employee, and they would go on the ARH payroll system. So although we've always been kind of heavily involved with having those who may be under 18 to come in the shadow within our facilities, it's been an employment requirement for the organization for many, many, many years that you must be 18 years or older in order to qualify for actual employment with the organization. So with this, it came quite a bit of changes in our policies, processes, and practices. We had to work very closely with our legal team to make appropriate changes to allow us to hire someone who was 16 or 17. However, when we proposed this concept to leadership, we received a ton of support. Our leadership, they recognized the importance of increasing our involvement with the local high schools, but even more importantly, they recognized the importance of offering a program that would bring our students into the doors of ARH and begin that initial kickoff into the healthcare industry. One of the next questions is, why should an employer participate in the KTECH program? Now, I've gotten this question from a few of our other employment partners. And from an employer standpoint, it's simply a no-brainer that you should offer apprenticeships within your business. By bringing in programs such as the KTECH program into your place of business, you're also bringing in several benefits that come along with implementing these types of programs. Some of those benefits include that you're able to recruit and develop a highly skilled workforce that helps grow your business, and you're also able to improve the productivity by bringing in students who are eager to learn. I can speak firsthand to both of those employer benefits. During the time with the KTECH program, we've been able to really mold our KTECH students to meet the ARH expectations of what we look for in an employee. During their time, we teach them right off the bat the ARH mission, the vision, and the values. We teach them what it means to be a healthcare professional, and we are truly able to develop that highly skilled workforce. In addition to that, our student employees throughout the KTECH program have played a major impact in our productivity. So although the duties maybe that the KTECH students or the student employees are doing, although they don't include major duties such as hands-on direct patient care, they have been vital in providing support to those who do. So to kind of go into a little bit more detail on that front, the question comes up, well, what exactly does someone do in the KTECH program at ARH? So if I started as a student employee at ARH, what would I be doing? Currently, we hire KTECH student employees under kind of a general field into the healthcare industry, which allows them to be very diverse in how they can assist us with our day-to-day tasks. Some of those duties of a student employed at ARH may include screening visitors at the door, and that's whenever you're asking visitors and patients about their COVID-related symptoms. You direct patients to the appropriate location of the facility. You're passing things such as ice and linens up on a nursing floor, and really being that support staff to our healthcare professionals throughout the facility. During ARH's large COVID-19 vaccination efforts, back at the first of the year, where we administered tens of thousands of vaccinations, the KTECH students actually played a very important role in the project that we had right here in Hazard. During these efforts, our student employees were responsible for directing patient inflow, registering patients, gathering insurance and identification information, and also monitoring our patients for their 15-minute wait after they received the vaccine. Next time, switching gears just a little bit, going into that from an educator standpoint, the question arises, why should we encourage our students to participate in the KTECH program? From an educator standpoint, I honestly do believe that it would be doing the students a disservice if they weren't encouraged or at least made aware of the opportunities that are available, such as the KTECH program. These types of programs are vital in preparing our students for success once they graduate high school and really enter into adulthood, whether it be going into directly into a career or furthering their education, whatever it may be. In addition, it's really giving those students a sense of responsibility because they're going to have to learn time management with maintaining a job. And overall, it introduces them into the healthcare industry, which can be vital in helping them find their niche or their interest into the healthcare career. One thing that we know is, typically those last 2 years of high school, those are very important years to kind of putting together your game plan for your future. During that time, you're applying for colleges, you're applying for scholarships, and really trying to figure out which path do I want to go into. And that leads me into one of the next questions that I get fairly often. And that is, why should I participate in KTECH? From a student perspective, anyone who's interested in participating in the program, I cannot put enough emphasis on this statement, and it's very simple. It's do it. Through the KTECH program, what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to gain insight into the healthcare industry that's going to be vital in preparing you for those next steps once you graduate. Maybe you're interested in becoming a registered nurse right now. So what you're going to be able to do through the KTECH program is you're going to be able to come into a healthcare setting, really see what the day in the life of a registered nurse looks like. And I guarantee being able to see that firsthand is going to play a major role in helping you identify if this is something I really want to go into, or maybe this isn't what I want to go into. That same concept applies for all really hospital setting positions, not just registered nurses, but you may see the operations of a physical therapist, a respiratory therapist, a rad tech, or whatever it may be. But overall, you're really able to see what it is truly like to work in the healthcare field. So maybe some of you were thinking, okay, maybe I might be interested, but I play basketball or volleyball or I cheerlead, and I don't really have time to do this after school. But through this partnership that I've mentioned, the KTECH partnership, you may qualify to leave school a little bit earlier, depending on the school that you're enrolled at. I know several of them do offer co-op opportunities, which may allow you to leave a little bit earlier. So you could come in, work a few hours during the day, and also make it on time for your practice or your game. At the end of the day, education is always going to remain a very high priority of this partnership. And this is why not only are you receiving that support from your school, but you're also going to receive that same level of support and flexibility from ARH managers and leaders by providing you with self-scheduling to you during the KTECH program. So you actually get to pick when you want to work. So if you have practice every Tuesday and Thursday from 4 to 6, and you can co-op and leave at 1:30, we can be flexible with having you come in and work from 1:45 to 4 or whatever you're comfortable to doing. We know that having that flexibility is very, very important. In addition to that really huge benefit, you're also being paid for the work that you do. So this apprenticeship is paid. And so how great does it sound to be able to earn while you learn? Through this program, we do offer minimum wage employment to begin, but of course that comes with endless opportunities for pay increases once you advance within the organization. The next piece I wanted to move into is one thing I mentioned earlier during the introduction, and that's the success that we've saw with the KTECH program so far. This is probably one of the most frequently asked questions because folks, when they're learning about the program, they want to know, hey, well, what have you been able to do through this program so far? As I mentioned throughout my time here today, and we've saw great successes with several of the student employees. During this time, we've been able to build very beneficial ongoing relationships with these individuals and really have been able to play a role in helping them figure out their next steps in planning when it comes to which field they're interested in or what career path they may be interested in, or even, and we also have some really great retention stories as well. So far, some that I can think of right off, we've had several students go into the nursing program after they participated in KTECH. We had one that went on to the physical therapist program. We've had a couple who have actually continued employment with ARH once they graduated. And we've also had one that I can think of that, they were very passionate about healthcare. They knew they were dead set on becoming an emergency department registered nurse. They came into the KTECH program. We allowed them to shadow back there, and they figured, maybe this isn't really what I thought it was going to be. So they were able to kind of go ahead and get an insight before they went into $10,000 and $20,000 and $30,000 of student loan debt for a program that they may not really be interested in once they graduated with that degree. They were able to get that firsthand insight to say, okay, this is for sure something I'm interested in, or this is not what I'm interested in. And then they can reevaluate it to see if maybe another program may be the better fit. One thing that I mentioned earlier is that we've had some really great retention stories. And there's one success story in particular that I wanted to mention, and that's with a KTECH participant named Gabrielle Fugate. Gabby, who some of you may know, she's a recent graduate of Paris Central, and in March of 2021, earlier this year, she joined our team as a student employee through the KTECH program. When Gabby came on, she started as a student employee, but very quickly, she really kind of transitioned into leading the team of student employees who were assisting with our vaccination efforts that were oh so vital in ensuring the health and safety of our community members. Saying that she was dedicated to her job would really be an understatement. Because I remember very clearly when we were doing our drive-through vaccine project, which took place outside earlier this year. Gabby would be one of the very first ones to show up to work every day, even sometimes when it was 25 or 30 degrees outside. And so it was very, very cold. She would show up, be the first one here, layered up in her clothes to keep warm, and she was ready to work. Gabrielle graduated high school in June, but I knew that from the very start, whenever she started as a student employee, that ARH needed Gabby as part of our team here at the corporate office. Once she graduated, I wasn't ready to let her go just yet on the KTECH program, so I offered her an internship opportunity, which has some similarities with an apprenticeship with a really big focus on learning and growing. So after that, she went from an apprenticeship to an internship. And that internship opportunity was here in the talent acquisition department. She actually very quickly began to lead our department in candidate outreach, scheduling interviews, coordinating employee relation events, and really boosting that team morale. So once that internship ended, it was a 480-hour internship. Once again, she continued to show that leadership and that passion for the industry. We offer Gabrielle a full-time permanent position here in my department. And she truly serves as the right hand for my day-to-day operations in the corporate talent acquisition department. So, that's just kind of one path. When I first met Gabrielle, I like to have conversations with their student employees about kind of where do you see yourself? What are you interested in? She came in with a very unique insight to where she wasn't really dead set on anything. So that's what she was trying to do. She wanted to figure out, okay, what am I interested in? What do I enjoy doing? And actually now that she was able to join into the talent acquisition and HR department, she's made the decision that she is very interested in the business aspect of operations. And she's actually going to be furthering her education into the business administration field. So that's just an example of what I mentioned earlier and how vital these type of apprenticeships are in really allowing someone to find their niche, finding what they're interested in. So, at this time, I would like to turn it back over to the KTECH team, who will be playing the interview that I was actually prepared, that discusses Gabby's success throughout the program. And then once that's finished, I'll kind of return it back over for any Q&As that the viewers may have.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start that video. I think it'll let me share my screen if you guys are still sharing it. Will it let me do that? Let's see.
1 second.
Okay, there.
I'm currently the HR assistant here at Appalachian Regional Healthcare. I'm so thankful for the KTECH Apprenticeship Program for allowing me to gain the experience that I need for this job. I plan to further my education in business and administration and continue to grow in the healthcare field. My advice to those who are thinking of starting an apprenticeship is to do it because the experience you gain from this can set the path for your future.
Okay, that was Gabrielle Fugate at ARH, and I'm going to turn it back over to Dylan.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kimberly. So, at this time, I would like to open it up for any Q&As. I've been part of the KTECH program since the kickoff. Our organization was very, very eager to be a part of it and to implement it and to begin offering opportunities to the students here in our region. So if anyone has any questions, any interest, feel free to go ahead and chime in with those questions and I'll answer to the best of my ability.
I actually have a couple of questions for you, Dylan.
Okay.
I was wondering if you'd been able to identify any challenges that the students had faced and if you had and how you were able to help them overcome their challenges.
Yes, the healthcare industry right now, it can be a very scary time. We're in the midst of one of the largest pandemics that we've ever faced. And this was a concern that several of our student employees had whenever we were having them involved in the hospital systems or inside the hospital facility. Their safety continues to be one of our main priorities. So whenever we had our student employees in the hospital, we would see that COVID inpatients were increasing, things along those lines. They weren't really comfortable. So what I did with several of those individuals is I actually developed a game plan to pull them outside of the hospitals, bring them over to the HR department here at the corporate office, so that they could still continue to learn and to play a role in the data in their operations. So we were able to provide that flexibility that would allow them to be in a safe environment and a comfortable environment as well, and also to kind of diversify their learning experience, because they were heavily involved in the hospital side of things, and when they didn't feel safe or they wanted to maybe avoid being around COVID, things like that, we totally understood that. We pulled them out. We wanted to be able to continue to give them the opportunity to work. So we made accommodations so that we could continue that. And as I mentioned, to be able to apply their skills in a diverse level as well over in the human resource team.
Another question that I had was, I know that you guys have a really good way of mentoring the students to get them prepared to start working in the workforce location. Can you tell me a little bit about the mentoring that you do to get them just integrated into the workforce at ARH?
Yes, I would actually love to. So what we do is that with the KTECH program, they would come into a larger hospital typically. Currently, we pilot this at Hazard. You know, that is a several hundred bed facility. It's a large facility. We have over 1,200 employees there. And one thing that we wanted to make sure that we were very clear on is that the experience that our student employees have must be positive. So we didn't want to just throw them into the workforce and say, okay, here's what we need you to do, go do it, and come back to me when you're done. So what we do is we've actually developed a mentorship program. It's more like a buddy system concept, to where they're actually paired with another healthcare professional, and they kind of go around with them. They do a little bit of shadowing, but they also assist with some of the duties as well. So what this does is it provides them with that mentor to where they can ask questions. They can ask about the day-to-day functions, but they're also still able to assist on a level to where they're being effective in their work that they're doing. In addition to that, we do very frequent checks up, both myself here at the corporate office, as well as our chief nursing staff and our administration cabinet there at the local hospital. We'll do frequent check-ins with them, say, hey, how are things going? And then once they get closer to graduation, and right off the bat, we typically do kind of initial introduction, learn what they're interested in. We try to assist with them and putting them in shadowing opportunities. So if someone comes in and they say, well, I think I might like physical therapy, but also radiology, I'm like, okay, great. Let's get you in for a 4-week shadowing session with the PT. Let's get you in for a shadow session with radiology. So kind of see what you're interested in. Let's help find that out. And then once you get closer to graduation, at that point, we want to do a follow-up to say, okay, here's what you were interested in at the start. Has that changed? Are you still interested in that? If so, wonderful. Let me tell you how we can be a part of helping you throughout that journey.
I love how engaged ARH is. Is there a time frame for that, the mentoring? Is it based on the student's need, or is it like you have a set time for those mentoring skills?
So what we do is we do an initial with leadership, that initial building of the mentorship. They do ongoing mentorship throughout when they're doing the buddy system. So they're typically with someone at all times when they're inside of the facility. So that's having that ongoing mentorship take place. And then we'll typically do every 2 weeks or every month, we'll meet with them from a leadership standpoint to just check in, see how things are going. So it's kind of, from a mentorship standpoint, they're getting the leadership mentorship very frequently, every 2 weeks, every month, check in. But from an actual on the ground, working directly with healthcare professionals, that's an ongoing at all time mentorship session.
We have a question from a student real quick that came up in the chat box. It says, if your sports schedule changes day to day, would this opportunity still be available for those students?
Yes, as I mentioned, it's our main goal is to provide an opportunity to learn, to grow, and advance, but also still making sure that you're able to enjoy the things that you have going on. So our managers are 110% flexible, those type of things. We know that, typically sports programs, they have a pretty good idea of what that schedule looks like, but we know that some things may come up, practice may start earlier, it may end later, things like that. So we're going to be able to provide flexibility with that.
Dylan, I don't know if I missed it or I didn't hear it, but did you discuss the starting pay
I did, yes. So it
Okay.
starts at minimum wage, $7.25 an hour. And then, of course, once you progress in the organization, so if you grow within the organization, you would receive an increase in compensation for those different level of positions.
Yeah. We just appreciate everything you've done. And I can't give you and Tanya Miller enough praise for being part of this and sticking with this and representing both of y'all's companies extremely well. Couldn't have been possible with all the starts and stops that we've had. The constant, we've lost a lot of people, that started with this, but I think the core people that, like you and Tanya, definitely kept us going.
We've done very great work to date with the program. We've brought in quite a few students and really provided them with that high level exposure in the healthcare industry. We've already had a ton of success with that. And I'm very, very confident that we're going to continue to see successes, especially as we grow and expand our program, because one thing that I'm working on right now with the KTECH leaders is expanding the schools that we're offering this program to. And we're actually actively looking for 7 more individuals to bring into our Hazard ARH hospital at the first of the year. So if anyone on this meeting right now may be interested or know someone who may be interested, have them definitely reach out to the KTECH team, get more information about it, because as I mentioned, we are actively looking for 7 additional ones here at our Hazard hospital, and then more information to come on the expansion of the other communities as well.
We've never had, we started, stop. So we never have been able to begin the school year and end the school year without having a shutdown. So, we've had a lot of success up to this point, but I feel like, once we can get going and stay going and keep that momentum going, then it's even going to grow further.
I think you're spot on.
Does anyone have any other questions for Dylan?
Hey, this is Jim, and I had a quick question. I think everyone's presumption is that most young people that are interested in healthcare are seeing themselves as doctors or nurses. I don't know if that's really true or not, but my question really is, do you have a sense for how many students, you talked about what were they interested in and what were they at the beginning, at the end? You have a sense for how many of them have still found what they want to do, but it isn't what they thought they were going to do when they started? Is that a big percentage, or?
I think that it's probably a lower percentage than more. It's low. It's less than more. Some folks when they come in, well, at least what we've had so far, we've had quite a few who are in their senior year, and at that point they have a pretty good insight. And then whenever we bring them in, that only excites their interest, and they're like, okay, this is definitely what I want to do. But at the same time, we have had at least three that I can think of right off who have changed their path. Gabrielle, for an example, she didn't have a real set goal on what she wanted to go into. She'd mentioned maybe in healthcare somewhere, but at first she was interested in maybe providing patient care. It was a physical therapist type role. And at the end, she decided, I was right about one thing, and that's that I wanted to serve in the healthcare industry, but in a total different capacity. I want to go into the business administration aspect of healthcare. So we have had a few. But to answer the question, I would say that we've had more that it's more really ignited their interest. And what they came into from the get-go, they've kind of stuck with throughout.
Well, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I think all of the apprentices that went through the program have continued in some kind of healthcare. We've had 2. I think one wanted to go into architecture and the other was like veterinary medicine, but the rest of them were still wanting to stay in healthcare. Isn't that right, Tim?
Yeah. So far, it's spot on.
The architecture student will build a hospital someday.
Yeah,
exactly. It'll all wrap around.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
Well, I think one thing that, after, being in this and listen to, Dylan and Tanya speak, and, one thing that this is providing is an opportunity and an avenue for these students to come back here and live in this region and be able to support themselves in this region and have a good career in this region.
You know, Tim, just to add to that, you know, you touched on something really good. You know, and I can speak a little bit to it. I just graduated high school 3 years ago, so I'm a little bit fresh to it still. And, you know, one of the biggest misconceptions that I thought when I was in high school is that I knew I wanted to make good money and doing something. And, you know, my biggest thought in high school was, you know, all my family's here, but, you know, if I want to make good money, I'm going to have to leave Hazard. You know, there's no jobs here. Little did I know that when I entered into the workforce, there are a ton of jobs here, well-paying jobs, in fact. And I think that's one thing that we've been able to do through the KTECH program as well, is to really shed some light on the fact that you don't have to leave home to make a livable wage. We have career opportunities here. We have well-paying career opportunities here. So you can stay right here in Eastern Kentucky and Hazard, Kentucky at that and make a livable wage. You don't have to go to Lexington or Louisville or wherever that may be in order to be successful.
You're absolutely right. Does anyone else have any more questions for Dylan?
All right, what I will do is I will comment my contact information in the chat. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'll list my work cell as well as my email. Feel free if you have any questions that come up later on. If you're interested in learning what ARIC has to offer or how you can be a part of the KTECH program, feel free to reach out to me. And also the KTECH leadership as well. And I'll drop that here in just a few seconds.
Great. Thank you, Dylan. We really appreciate you joining the summit today. It was very informative, and thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, the next session that we're going to be going into actually starts at 2:30. And so I'm just going to do a little bit of talking to the audience about resources. So if you guys could jump in when you have something to say, that would be great. Are there any resources or events your organization or school has set up to help students or adults prep for participation in apprenticeships or internships within the employer workspaces? If so, would you please share? Just to get the ball rolling, I'll give you an example of something that KTECH has put into place. We have scheduled soft skills training for the high school students participating in the classes that are linked to our apprenticeship pathways. And that's through actually a local organization that we have partnered with now called EKSEP. And Dottie Nolan is conducting those soft skill trainings for us at the high schools. If anyone would like her contact information, you can just message me and I can get you in touch with her. Another training that's in progress right now, we're getting set up at the high schools, is a resume workshop. So all of these students will have their resume in hand when they graduate. Does anybody have any resources or events that you know of that maybe your organization has done in the past or plans to do in the future? Okay, I'll tell you that I was in a meeting recently with other colleges in the system, and one of them mentioned a career exploration day. They have set up for the high school students where they get to go in to these different stations that they have set up where they get hands-on experience of what they can expect in a specific apprenticeship field. It seemed very beneficial and interesting. Has anyone had a similar event that they can share? Any career days? Oh, I got a hand raised. I gotta find the participant list here.
It's Caitlin. My name is Caitlin Fugate, and I'm at Gateway Community and Technical College. I'm actually the new apprenticeship coordinator. So I'm learning that role, but I've been at Gateway for 9 years now. And before the pandemic, we used to have something called Manufacturing Day. So we would try to celebrate it during the manufacturing month, but it ended up being very positive. So we would try to do 2 a year. And that's where we would have high school students come in and tour our manufacturing programs. We would have faculty participate. And we found that if the faculty turned on equipment or used equipment or showed welding, it really excited the high school students. So manufacturing day hopefully is something that will continue once the pandemic ends, but it was definitely something that was well participated in. And I know that high schools ask for it a lot. So that was something that we would do to give the students a good idea as to what programs we had on the manufacturing side.
What types of programs are they?
So we would go over, we would do HVAC, air conditioning technology. We would do computerized manufacturing and machining, manufacturing engineering technology, welding. We did go over some robotics. And then at Gateway, under our manufacturing division, transportation is under that. We didn't include the transportation department, but we did hear from high schools that that would be something that they would like. But then the pandemic hit. So hopefully we can include that in the next, few semesters once everything clears up.
Well, I know with all of the, they're having a lot of issue with there not being enough transportation of goods and, across the United States. That's causing a problem with the supply chain. So that actually would probably be a really good thing to bring in for the school, especially since I know that I've known people that that have done the CDL too, and they say that there's a big shortage. I mean, there was already a shortage before the COVID happened, so that sounds very interesting and beneficial to the students.
Yeah, thank you. No, I agree.
Yeah.
We have a CDL program here, and we have a lot of people that are obviously interested in it with the shortages. So I know that one of our goals will be to showcase the transportation department at some point when the schools are able to come out a little bit more.
Yes, that sounds like that would be good. Does anyone else have a event or any resources that they have made available to students or the adult apprentices? Okay, I can tell you that another possible resource that some may not have thought of is your local WIOA office. If students need assistance with something such as uniforms or equipment or other assistance for their apprenticeship needs, those students can, and if they meet the requirements, can meet with the WIOA office and they may be able to assist them. So that could be a suggestion for someone who is struggling to participate in an apprenticeship due to different barriers. We are going to hear from some people from our local WIOA office in the last session for today. That's Diana Jarbo, her session that comes at 3:30. But we are going to be going into our next session, which is the lasting partnerships starting in high school with Condra Ledford. She is with Perry County Central High School. And let me see oh, good. There you are.
Yes,
It's good to see you, Condra.
You too.
Do you want to go through your PowerPoint presentation and then I can ask you some questions? Will that work? Absolutely. Do you want to share your screen? Are you able to do that?
Let's see if it will let me share.
Kim, let me talk here just a second.
Okay.
While you get ready. Condra's been with us since day one. And, from my standpoint, we started with the superintendent, worked our way to the principal, worked our way to the guidance counselor. And then finally I got to the teachers. And Condra, once I got to Condra, then I didn't really have to go to anybody else. So I can't stress how much that Condra's impacted this program in such a positive way. And even during the pandemic, she done a lot of things outside of school to reach out to these kids so we could continue getting apprentices placed. So, we actually hired somebody to work, a liaison, Dusty, to work at Prairie Central this year. So she's doing a lot of what Condra used to do, but I just want to thank you, Condor, for everything you've done, and you know, I can't stress enough what role you played in the beginning of KTECH.
Well, thank you. It's been my pleasure. So I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of what we do here at the high school to prepare these kids, how we do our selection. So I put together a small PowerPoint, and then, as Kim said, at the end, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Coming into this, it's been a couple of years since I have been helping, and just as Tim stated, we kind of started this in the middle of a pandemic, and it was organized chaos, to say the least, from there. But just a little introduction, here at the high school, our students that come through KTECH are typically part of the health science pathway. There are 3 nurses, that's myself, Lisa Stacy, and then Marty Feltner, who is new, and she's actually a nurse practitioner. We teach in the classroom, just as traditional teachers do. We teach principles of health science, allied health, and medical terminology. And we also have a biomedical program here. Biomedical is not directly related into KTECH and health science, but there is a lot of overlap with the same students, because as mentioned before, a lot of these kids, they don't know what they want to do. So they explore many different avenues. And of course, Tim just talked about Dusty. She's our new liaison, and she has been a wonderful support to help us along the way. I talked about the 3 medical pathways. Students come to us through the pathways either by request, meaning they sign up for our classes when they register each year, or when looking at the biomedical program, those students actually complete an application and they go through an interview just as they would for a job. It's a very prestigious program. And looking at the overall numbers of students that come through our health science pathway, each year, and I'm talking school year, we are looking at about 200 to 225 kids. So a lot of kids' lives that we have the potential to impact. So looking at our process for how we find kids for these placements, there's 4 components to it on our side. We have an application process, then we actually do the student selection, then student placement, and then they actually begin into the apprenticeship and the partnership. So kind of looking at the application process, this is a standardized application, just like you would fill out for a job. There are parts to this application, though, that both the student and the parent have to complete. We typically do these at our back to school bash, kind of get things moving before school starts so that we know what interest we have. And 2, that's a really good way to get the word out about these programs, because, you know, most families tend to turn out for events like that. The kids have to come and pick up their schedules. So it's a really good way to advertise for us. But we do take applications August through September, or anytime that there's a need. You know, just as Dylan mentioned, you know, they're looking to get 7 more apprentices in January. So that would be an instance where we would take more applications because there's a need. And these applications usually come to me or Dusty Francis, our KTECH liaison, or we pass them back and forth. We kind of share them in between each other because sometimes there is some overlap in that as well. Looking at the actual student selection, we are really fortunate here. We have an amazing administration. Miss Ritchie, she is, you know, all about helping these kids succeed and, you know, in doing that any way that we can. But 2, you know, she also holds them to high standards. So when we are looking at student selection, we look at things like their grade point average, their attendance, you guys know just as well as I do, out in the real world, if you don't show up for work, you're not going to have a job for very long. So, you know, that's something we really place a lot of value on as well. We look at pathway enrollment status, and we look to see where kids are in their classes, and single out those particular health science, the medical terminology, the allied health, the biomedical classes, to see how students are doing in those classes. We look at teacher recommendations. You know, we go teacher to teacher, you know, hey, so-and-so's applied for an apprenticeship. You know, can you give us some insight into their work ethic in your classroom? You know, would you recommend this student? Then we go to our administration to get our final approval. And from there, we pass on to the guidance counselors. That way, any schedule changes that need to be made, they can help the students, but not just in doing that and getting them set up for the apprenticeship, but they also make sure that the students are getting the required credits that they need to stay on track in their other classes. The actual student placement comes once we get numbers. We look at student interest. We look at, you know, where the students prefer to be. We look at, you know, what things that they are considering in the future, what programs of study that they're interested in. Of course, the number of placements available. It would be wonderful if we could place 30 kids, but sometimes that's not the case. We may only be able to place 10. And that too goes with the student availability, you know, opening up the time to take more applications as needs arise. And then we also look at students who are part of HOSA, Future Health Professionals. And what that is that's our student organization here at the high school for health science. And these are all kids who have decided they're going to do something medical with their life. They may not know what exactly at the moment, but HOSA does many things, the local level, state level, and even on a national level. So these kids really represent our program, and they represent it well. These are kids who really have goals, end goals in sight. So we take into consideration if they are part of HOSA when we are placing these students, and also when we are selecting them. As I mentioned, we have a wonderful administration, and Ms. Ritchie supports HOSA, and that the KTECH apprentices should also be involved in HOSA, because we do a lot of community service and giving back to our community. And anyone working in healthcare knows once you sign up for healthcare, that's what you've signed up to do, is to give back to your community and care for others around you. And I think we all know there's a lot of needs in our little area. And then the actual apprenticeships and partnerships, some of the jobs that my students have held over time have been working in registration. I actually got to work with one of my students at primary care when I was doing some clinicals there for a practitioner degree. So one of my students was my clerk, and it was a wonderful partnership, to say the least. So I got to see how this student worked firsthand, and I got to see her work ethic and how much she had grown from the time that I had her in class as a freshman till she was a senior, out working in industry. We've had screeners, as Dylan mentioned. I had one student who worked as a certified nursing assistant. She went through our pre-nursing pathway here at the high school. We sent her to the vocational school. She got her nurse aide certification, and she went to work as such. And she done an amazing job. And to the best of my knowledge, she is still working. We've had students placed in the pharmacy, as well as students who were part of multiple shadowing opportunities along the way. So some other KTECH opportunities is the Community Health Worker Program. This is an amazing program. I could never say enough good stuff about this, and I'll kind of elaborate on that a little more and why in just a minute. But the Community Health Worker Program, that is hosted through the UK Center for Rural Health and the Kentucky Home Place Project. I actually got to attend their banquet for their first graduates, and United Health Group was part of that. And they talked about how amazed they were that the program went so well, and what a wonderful turnout with the students and the successes that they had. Perry Central, I'm so proud to say, had the first 2 graduates from that program. And currently we have 6 students enrolled as community health workers. It's 2 years, 3 academic semesters, 1 semester of shadowing to complete their required hours for their internship to get their certification. And one of the reasons why I am so partial to this program is the young lady by the name of Jayla Ledford is my daughter. She was one of the first community health workers to go through kind of the pilot program. She was kind of one of our own little guinea pigs, so to speak. But her and Jasmine Fugate, both of these young ladies successfully were the first graduates to complete the community health worker program.
And there were 6. There were 6 that started. There were 6 that started, and these finished, and that was through the height of the pandemic. We actually started in January of 2020 on campus 1 hour a week, and had to go from there to online, in March. So that's we also got a parent perspective here, and that's also beneficial.
Yes, even as a parent, I could never say enough good things about this, about KTECH in general. And here are the girls with their certificates. My daughter actually stayed on, and she worked some through the summer at the UK Center for Rural Health, and she loved it. She loved her job. She would have stayed on and worked full time for them, but she had accepted a cheerleading scholarship in college, so she is away, as is Jasmine. My daughter is at the University of the Cumberlands, and Jasmine is at EKU, and both are pursuing degrees in healthcare. My daughter has applied to the physician assistant program. And this is what she had to say. As I was putting this together, I asked her for her input. And she will forever be thankful for this opportunity. But she says the opportunity to participate in the community health worker program was one of the best things to ever happen to me. I would tell anyone to jump at the chance. Apply. You won't regret it. It will better you and your opportunities. Mace and Miss Kegley are amazing. So that's kind of her input. And speaking as a parent, I agree with her 110%. It is one of the best things that could have happened to her. This really opened my daughter's eyes to the world around her. A lot of our students don't realize exactly the pressure that they are going to feel when the time comes that they do have to make decisions about what they want to do in life. And this really opened her eyes to that. And here they are at the end of the banquet, and you can see Tim is there, as well as Ms. Feltner, Dr. Linden, representative from United Health Group, and Mace. And I included some pictures I had taken of our KTECH graduates. We are definitely very proud here at Perry County Central. I could never say enough good things about these kids. Each one of these kids have been one of my students at some point in time, and to see them be able to participate in something like this and really get a leg up, so to speak, in life and in making those decisions about what they want to do with their life has been just amazing for me as a teacher, outside of the parent experience as well. But here are Jayla and Jasmine again, but this other young lady, Savannah Jones, she was one of our KTECH students who worked in registration at primary care, and she was my clerk. She's the student I was talking about earlier. So she and I spent many nights working together out in COVID tents. And Lance, and you guys saw an interview from Gabby. Lance, if I'm not mistaken, is actually back for his 5th year as a senior. And then Shelby. And Shelby was our certified nursing assistant. And her mother is actually a teacher to one of my other children. And last I talked to her, Shelby was still working as a nursing assistant. So I'm definitely proud of these kids. This program is amazing. It's such a wonderful opportunity for these kids, and the benefit that they get from it, you know, teaches them life lessons as well. So it helps them to grow all around. So I'll, you know, open up this time for any questions that you may have about what we do here, anything about the selection process.
I would just like to add one thing about the Perry Central students. The success rate of the student starting an apprenticeship, finishing the apprenticeship, going on to college without any setbacks is probably at about 90%. And that's, you know, outstanding. That's a direct reflection of you, Miss Ritchie, Jonathan Jett, everybody at the school. Like you said, there's, you know, you go through a lengthy process of screening and, you know, getting the kids. And that's another reason why that I think that, you know, we was able to overcome obstacles early is, you know, we got the right students at the beginning. So we just appreciate that. And that's, you know, that's outstanding numbers for anything.
Yes, we are definitely very proud of our students and want them to succeed in all that they do.
Does anyone have any questions for Condra? Okay, I have a couple questions then, if no one's going to jump in. Okay, so can you tell us what steps the high school takes to prep the students before they go to the employer locations?
Yes, I actually meet with the students, myself and now Dusty. We meet with the students, you know, we discuss with them kind of what to expect, as well as review some work ethic type things with the students, you know, let them know, you know, hey, this is a job, you know, you're going to be paid for this, you know, this is very serious. And, you know, sometimes the students don't stop to think about that. So we just kind of give them some general reminders. We let them know where they're going to be placed. And, you know, we also ask if there is any conflicts or any issues that would prevent them from being successful in the program. And I know you had mentioned earlier when talking about resources, one of the big issues that we had here was transportation for our students. And I'm sure that's all across many districts. But one of the things that our administration did is actually arrange for our students to be transported to and from. So, you know, that removed one obstacle at least for those students to enable them to be successful.
That's really helpful, especially for around here. You can't really walk from place to place unless you live in the downtown area. And even then, some of the locations are pretty far. I mean, from downtown, it'd be a pretty good walk to the hospital from there, here where we are in Hazard. But I wanted to say that how wonderful the school has been about transporting the students back and forth to the employer locations and to the technical campus for them to take their classes. That has been wonderful. We are really grateful for that. I do have a question about, have you seen any changes in the students since from the time they started the apprenticeship to the end? Like, have you seen any effects of these apprenticeships on them personally or professionally?
Yes, I have seen a multitude of growth in these kids, you know, starting out, and even like I was talking earlier about Savannah, just seeing her grow over time up into a point to where she's no longer my student, but, you know, we're working side by side as she becomes more of a colleague at that time. But just to see how much she had grown in the areas of responsibility and accountability and how serious that she took her job. And even talking to some of these other students about, you know, things they had saw out in the workplace and how that had influenced them to change their mind about what they wanted to do. My daughter is a perfect example of that. She initially started out not really knowing at all what she wanted to do. She talked for a couple years about wanting to be a chemistry teacher. And now, after having the opportunity to go through the community health worker program and to get out and do the shadowing hours in her internship there, she was able to see some of the health disparities that we have in our area and the need for medical care. And that's what has motivated her to want to be a physician's assistant, to help provide and give back to our area.
I can
That's
also add to that. Those two girls, Jasmine and Jayla, I don't know if I heard them speak 2 words apiece for the 3 semesters that they were in the community healthcare worker. And, you know, when we went up there to the graduation this summer, I mean, we couldn't get neither one of them to shut up. I mean, it was just constant. I mean, so I knew right away that, yeah, their confidence, their self-esteem, you know, they, you know, whatever, but I could tell that difference.
Yes.
Have you been able to identify any other barriers that the students have encountered that you've been able to help them with? Have you been able to find other resources for them if they came up with a barrier that was going to prevent them from participating?
We have had a couple of issues come up with students with health problems, things that they could not necessarily control, but we have tried to work around those. Mace and Miss Kegley have been wonderful. One of the students in particular is one of our community health worker students, and he has had a lot of health issues lately, but they have been wonderful to work with him. And then, of course, you know, coming back here to the school, it's, can you help me? You know, what can we do to keep you caught up? You know, come in, see me, I'll help you, but we need to stay on top of this. And our students will also be participating in the soft skills sessions that you mentioned. So I'm hoping too that opens their eyes and enlightens them more to some employability characteristics and concepts.
Yes, we actually have 5 classes for Perry Central. They're supposed to be taking those soft skill classes on December the 3rd, I think it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I hope that's beneficial for the students, and we'll get them set up with those resume classes as well.
Yes.
I know that both you and Tim made a good point that earlier when you were talking, that students often don't realize that there are more opportunities in healthcare than just being a doctor or a nurse. And these apprenticeships have helped them be able to experience some of those other fields. And I think it's really helped them because it has shown them that there's more opportunities than just the 2, the most common doctor and nurse that you hear about.
Yes, and I'm sure that's because when students, you know, are sick, that's the 2 people they see. You know, children, they see doctors and nurses, so kind of in their mind, that's who is providing them with care. They don't realize, unless they have had an instance where they do have to see maybe a physical therapist or an occupational therapist, or, you know, some of our kids participate in speech therapy, but unless they've had that direct experience, they don't realize that there's a bigger world out there, more than just doctors and nurses.
Yes, that's a good point. That is so true. Condra, thank you so much for doing a session for us today. We greatly appreciate it. It was a lot of great information, a lot of great insight, and we loved hearing from the parent perspective as well. That was something unique that we weren't expecting, but that is great to hear from you. And the next session that we're going to be going into today is from Jama Griffey, and she is the dual enrollment coordinator at Hazard Community and Technical College. I think Jama's on here. We'll see. Oh, there you are. Wonderful. Good to see you, Jama.
Good to be here. Good to see you too. Thank you.
I'm going to play you. Oh,
let me say something about Jama real quick. Jama has been really beneficial for the KTECH program because she's been out in the schools for years, you know, making sure these students are signed up for their dual credit classes and they're getting the proper credit for it. So, you know, we lean on her a lot when we talk about these pathways. And a lot of times Jama really kind of does our work for us. So we can't thank Jama enough for what she does for the students and as well as she does for KTECH here at the college.
Well, thank you for that introduction, but I just kind of go along with the flow with you all. You all teach me too as we go. So I am going to, oh, you got, that's right.
Yes, I'm going to play a short introduction video from Jama, and then we're going to hear her presentation. So give me just a second to share my screen.
As dual credit coordinator for Hazard Community and Technical College, I get the opportunity to work with high school students who are receiving both college credit and high school credit at the same time. The beauty of the KTECH program and the role that it plays with dual credit is it allows students to get experience in the college classroom, but they're also getting experience in the workplace. This is unique to our area and it's unique to our students. And we are very thankful for the opportunity that KTECH plays with that. These students are taking up to 6 classes, earning 6 college credit hours, learning about legal and ethics in the workplace. They're learning about communication and community outreach and advocacy. These are all important things that students need to know as they venture on for their future and in future jobs and careers that they may take and in the future of their education. And it plays a major role in the healthcare career pathways that these students are taking. So I'm thankful that I get the opportunity to see these students grow and to work and to take classes. Another component of the KTECH program and the apprenticeship opportunities that these students get is being able to learn and experiment in their career pathway. Oftentimes we see students, and I've seen this many years with dual credit, that students get into career pathways they may or may not have really wanted to explore. And the beauty of this program and how KTECH allows these students to experiment and to explore the various healthcare career pathways allow students to know and to get a footing in their future careers.
Okay, Jama, we're ready.
Okay, well, I'm going to attempt to share my screen. And you can let me know if you see it.
Yes, we can see it. Looks good.
Okay, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the dual credit, not just the KTECH apprenticeship program, but about dual credit as a whole. So some things that I didn't add to this slide that I'm going to introduce and talk to about really quickly is dual credit in higher education has changed dramatically over the past, I would say, 10 years. The past 5 years being a very prominent change in dual credit, and many will tell you it's kind of like a revolving door because it's constantly changing. And I think that is due in part to things like the apprenticeship programs and things of that nature that are allowing students to start at a much younger age to explore and to see what their opportunities are. And that has been a guiding light and a guiding factor for dual credit to be able to push those forward. So with that being said, there's been legislative updates that's mandated things around dual credit over the past 5 years and all sorts of things. I mean, previously I worked just a short bit in dual credit before I started full-time in it. And we might have had maybe 50, 75, 100 students, and we're moving into days where we're having 700 to 1,000 students a semester or a year, depending on what programs are offered. So you can see just the growth itself from these types of programs that have pushed dual credit has really grown it over the past few years. So with that being said, we're just going to talk a little bit about dual credit, and I'm going to ask questions at the end, or if you have questions, pop them in the chat box, and or just turn your mic on and say, "Hey, Jama," and stop, and we can go back to that slide and talk about what it is that you want to talk about. So what is dual credit? So dual credit, it means that students are getting both their college credit and their high school credit at the same time. So if they're enrolled in a class, say English 101, and they're a senior, then they're getting their senior English credit. That's just an example. So also with programs and pathways, you've got things like the KTECH program, apprenticeship, working, allied health programs, things of that nature. Those are all program pathways as well. So we see a lot of students who will take both. They'll take some career and technical ed type courses along with some general education courses such as English or math to couple those with and to pursue that degree on further. So, but dual credit, it means they're getting credit at the high school as well. So if a student's looking at their high school transcript, they should see these courses on there as well. So that's what that means. So next, the benefits of dual credit. You're getting a head start on your college credit while you're in high school. Just an example, a young man that I've worked with over the past few years just graduated in May, and he'll be starting pharmacy school next fall. So that is we're starting to see a lot of that, and he's finishing his prerequisite courses for the pharmacy program with us, but he's already been accepted. So you're definitely getting a huge head start, and you're by earning college credit while you're in high school. So you're saving money as well, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. We won't get into the details just yet of the tuition cost and how much money you are saving. For students who may or may not get financial aid, this is a huge discounted rate for students to be able to take classes, and a lot of them are free, and some of them are not, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So you're saving time. Use the young man as an example. He saved time. He's going to be starting pharmacy school early, and so he's going to be getting that degree faster. So you're going to learn more about your career interest, and that's what we see with programs like KTECH in the apprenticeship program, and with some of the CTE classes that they're starting to take. We're starting to see an increase in students who are taking CIT courses, students who are taking intro to business and courses of that nature. So that is starting to pique a lot of interest for students and what they might be wanting to take or pursue post high school graduation. So you're more likely to complete a college degree. There are statistics out there that shows that students who may not have been considering college for their future have taken a dual credit class and decided to pursue a higher education degree. So there are statistics out there that shows that, and that is one of the benefits of dual credit. So you're getting both college and career ready. And on the high school level, they have requirements for that with the Kentucky Department of Education on the state level, and they are required to meet a certain level of college and career ready with their students, and dual credit helps them to do that. It's not the only option, but it is an option that students like to do, and high schools like to do to get their students to that level. So, but there are, just like with all these things with dual credit, there is things to remember that sometimes the students, they forget or they may not know. But when they're earning grades in dual credit, it's part of their college GPA transcript. It's part of their high school GPA too. So if they don't do so well in a class, then that's going to be reflected in both places, and it does count on their college GPA. Your grades and your withdrawals can impact your future financial aid. That is true. We do work with high school students and allow them time to withdraw if they're not interested or not doing well in that class. But ultimately, if they get a W in that class, then too many of those we know will impact financial aid in the future. So, sorry, that's my phone. That's one of the beauties of virtual, right? Most so colleges may not accept all the classes you take for credit, or certain classes may not count towards your degree. So let me go over that just a minute. Several years ago, state legislature mandated that all public institutions accept KCTCS credit. So there are 8 public institutions. There are a lot of private colleges, however, can do, whatever they want. And they can award credit however they want, and it's not mandated by CPE in any way or that sort of thing. Now, we do not typically have any trouble with private institutions. They usually coincide and go along with what public institutions are doing in the state of Kentucky, and CPE kind of guides them too. And most bodies are accredited. Most institutions are accredited by a certain body. So if they're accredited, we're accredited through SAC COC. And if you have an accreditation, most likely you're going to follow along with a lot of the accreditations or the things that other colleges are doing. There are, though, however, I will have the occasional phone call of a student that calls and says, "Jamie, my class didn't transfer." And that could be one or two things. One, they didn't send their transcript to the institution, or two, it's not a class that was required for a certain program, but it counts into their elective credit hours. And the misconception about that is that students think, well, I don't have to have electives, and you do have to have so many electives. The problem is you don't want to get too many electives of a certain thing. At HCTC, we gear students to get their Associates of Arts, and we're going to go over this in a minute too, or the Associates of Science, and they're required 21 credit hours of electives. What we typically try to do is to make sure they're taking those electives in a pathway that they want to go into. For example, the CHW courses that we're going to go over with this KTECH Apprenticeship Program is a good example of that. Medical terminology is another good class that's an example of that. That's not required for all medical degrees, but it definitely is a very good elective class that gets your footing and your knowledge for those pre-med terms or their nursing terms, those things that you may need to know. So those type of courses is the type of courses that we try to gear students to take even in their elective hours. So, and once you gen ed block transfer to an institution, they take those 60 or 66, however many credit hours the students receive with KCTCS, they're moving those forward in their transfer. So let's talk a little bit first about the KTECH. Before we do that, does anybody have any questions so far? I know I've went over a lot, and I tend to talk fast sometimes, so I'm going to take a minute to pause and see if anybody has any questions before I move on to course descriptions and that sort of thing. Okay, all right. So the KTECH dual credit courses is 6 credit hours total. They're a credit hour each. When we go over these course descriptions, you're going to learn just how in-depth these classes are and what these students are learning. But this is a highlight of those. They have CHW 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, and 106. And you'll see there the titles of each one of those, and they're a credit hour each. So they're getting 6 credit hours total. And when you're looking at it, in my mind, I look at a check sheet in my mind when I'm working with students. Then I automatically drop those down to those 21 credit hours that they need. But if we know that they're in a nursing pathway or an allied health pathway of some sort, then this is a really good elective background to take. So let's look at the first course description. So you can just kind of see how important this KTECH program is for these students. Communication for the health worker. I cannot speak today. It's Thursday. I apologize. Teaches effective and purposeful communication by listening carefully and communicating respectfully in ways that help build trust and rapport with clients, community members, colleagues, and other professionals. And that is very, very important. If you're in a workplace, we all know how important communication is, and to be able to trust our fellow employees and work with them, and even more so in the community. So it also considers effective communication to include a mix of listening, speaking, gathering, and sharing information, and resolving conflict. That is extremely important. explains the community healthcare workers' roles, responsibilities, and limits with regards to protecting client privacy confidentiality. Second course, organizational and community outreach, teaches those students to explore the use of a variety of outreach methods such as phone calls, in-person conversations, group presentations, distribution of print and electronic information, and social media, and effectively written reports that will be sent out to supervisors and patients as needed. And working in higher education, there's a lot of written reports that we work through, and I'm sure there are on the healthcare fields as well. Provides knowledge on effective outreach based on learning about community needs and strengths, knowledge about available resources, and sensitivity to personal and cultural dynamics that affect behavior and relationships. So CHW 103 teaches advocacy and capacity building that can help create conditions, build relationships that lead to better health, explores capacity building requirements such as planning, cooperation, and commitment, and it examines working to change public awareness, organizational rules, institutional rules, institutional practices, and public policy. And those are all extremely important to any organization. So that these high school students are learning that type of advocacy at their age and going into a workforce is something I wish I'd had when I was in high school, because those are kind of things as you learn as you go, but this is really good that they're learning it now. Health coaching teaches education for healthy behavior change, including providing people with information, tools, and encouragement to help them improve their health and stay healthy over time. So with this class, they explore working with clients and their families, community members, and providers to address issues that may limit opportunities for healthy behavior. It examines the community health care worker's role as an educator and coach, using a variety of techniques to motivate and support behavior and improve health. Okay, Organization for Community Health Worker teaches how to promote coordinated and effective services by documenting their work activities, including written summaries of client and community assessments, examines presenting information to agency colleagues or community partners about their clients and the issues they face. It explores the use of computer technology and communication in English. It discusses alternative language arrangements utilizing valuable linguistic capacities, cultural experience, and community relationship. And the last course is Legal and Ethics for Community Health Worker. This class, it teaches them how to handle the ethical challenges as the community healthcare workers address legal and social challenges facing the clients and communities they serve. Discusses client confidentiality and privacy rights in the context of employer and legal reporting requirements. It explores balancing care for clients with care for self, examines following agency rules and regulations governing public and private resources, while exercising creativity and helping community members to meet their individual and family needs. These 6 courses, to me, when I first read those, when they first implemented these, really resonated the fact that these students are learning so much foundation that they can be creative moving forward, which is a positive thing for the workplace, because then we have them coming in to make our workplace more positive as their ideas are coming in. And I think that's a wonderful thing. So our community healthcare worker courses, they are all taught. I think that Tim Kugler went over this earlier. They're taught by our partnering organizations. And within those allied health fields, I think at the University of Kentucky, Mace Baker, Fran, some of those are teaching some of these classes. These faculty members, they deliver those courses to the students. And they teach them, they didn't stop. During pandemic, it was virtual, and they just kept right on going and worked really good with those students to get the content they needed. So let's talk a little bit about the cost of tuition. These CHW classes are free. and the students they do not incur any cost for them. So any classes that are taken outside of the CHW, the course descriptions that I went over, and we'll go over additional course offerings that they can take, they are given a discounted rate. That is a legislative mandate a few years ago that colleges cannot charge any more than 40% of the KCTCS tuition. Most courses we know are 3 credit hours. These are one. A 3 credit hour class is around $214 discounted, which normally would be almost $600 with additional fees. We're not allowed to charge fees as well. That was in the mandate that came down from legislature. I think 2016 might have been the time that the scholarships became available, but it's in that same time frame. So they do incur the book charges if there are any. Some colleges now have moved to online book charges, which is cheaper than buying them out of the bookstore, and they do incur those. However, we do have scholarships available for some of those classes as well. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So additional courses that students can take, and this is a very short list, and I do recognize it as a very short list. I could give you the list of dual credit approved classes, but it's very, very long because we have a lot of our CTE technical courses that students can take in their pathways, midterm, CNA, welding, carpentry, in our area technology centers. This is going a little bit beyond the KTECH, but I'm just giving you a dual credit background and dual credit knowledge, or the knowledge of what dual credit does for the students. But general education classes are the classes that you take when you go to college. You're taking your gen ed core. That's what the terminology is when you go and they say, well, you need to get these gen ed classes done before you can go and take this program, right? And those are typically your English 101, a basic public speaking, which is your COM 181, a history course, a biology, chemistry, or physics course. And we typically try to tell students, some of them will want to go and take a specific course, but we try to tell them, hey, if you're pre-med, you don't need this. If you're not pre-med, you do need this. If you're going into physical therapy, you need anatomy. You know, we try to really steer the students to make sure they're taking the correct science course they need that for the pathways that they're doing. College algebra is your Math 150 or Math 146, which is a course that's not been around very long, but it's a course that really is becoming popular across the state with our four-year universities too. And actually there was some conversation in the beginning about why isn't KCTCS teaching contemporary math? We transfer this in. This is a math course that some of our students take that are not pre-med, but it does work for nursing. So that's another good course. And then your social behavior science, which is your sociology or psychology. If you're not going into an allied health field, American government is a really good social behavior science class to take. And computers. Computers is needed for just about every degree that you go into. There are other options besides CIT 105. There's a DLC 101, which is digital literacy. But we have different requirements. English and communications is pretty staple. But when you get into your humanities and courses like that, there are other options. So we try to work with students to kind of get those as needed. And even if you're going into nursing, they'll need like one humanities or heritage, an English, usually anatomy 1 and 2. So those classes we try to cater to the students that are in a specific pathway. Now, this is just a sheet that tells you a little bit about what a check sheet looks like that we give to our dual credit students. And over to the left-hand side, you can see you take a technical education class, earn a certificate in some programs, take general education classes. So those are the two different type classes that you could take while you're in high school. And then after high school, you can come to KCTCS here at HCTC or anywhere that's near them. Then they can either, one, go to work, or they can go and transfer. So that's kind of two options they have if they want to finish their degree with us. The benefits is you're getting, one, a great education close to home. You start earning a paycheck fast. And we have a lot of students that are pharmacy tech and they'll work while they're going to school. to get what they need to try to get into pharmacy school, or they have a CNA and they're working as a CNA and they're coming back to try to go on to get their RN. So there's different ways, different pathways they can go. They save money and time to complete a college degree. The classes that I just talked about, I may have flipped these a little bit, these two slides, but that's okay. The classes that I talked about on the previous slide, they fit into these categories. So your written communications is your English 101. Your oral communications, what you all can't see is that I'm pointing at the screen like you're here with me, but I know that you're not. Oral communications is your COM 181, and then you could pick like a heritage or humanities. This right here, this check sheet right here is what we try to keep students in. A lot of students will reach this 33 credit hours. Some usually get to 24. And that's typically what we're seeing a lot of high schools go out of high school with now. And they can do that through various scholarships, and a lot of them will do it based on their scholarships. They get the discounted rate anyhow, regardless of the number of hours that they take. But they can get scholarships for a good portion of them. And so that's what students are trying to get a semester or two out of the way. That way they don't have to pay for them, or they've gotten them at a discounted rate moving forward. So here's a little bit about the scholarships. So in Kentucky, we have two different types of scholarships. We have a Work Ready Kentucky Scholarship, and we have a dual credit scholarship. Now, I've heard a little bit of rumblings about that there could possibly be changes coming with legislature in the next year. We don't know if it'll pass or not. If it passes, then you could see a little bit of change in the terminology of these, but the scholarships are still going to be there, I think. They're just looking to make the process more streamlined. So anyhow, right now, currently, we have the Work Ready Kentucky Scholarship. Those pay starting freshman year to their senior year. Those pay for 2 classes a year. Not 2 per semester, but 2 per year. Now, here's the beauty of the Work Ready Scholarship. It does pay for anything that is career and technical ed in nature, so CNA, midterm, business, computers, all those classes, criminal justice. Actually, our education classes are Work Ready approved now. Those are all Work Ready approved scholarships. So that gets you a leg up on a lot of those entry or beginning courses in those career and technical ed classes by taking 2 a year. And it gets those behind you, and you could get those for free. Here's the big beauty of it. A lot of our classes have labs connected to them. So say you go in and take, these CHW classes don't, but say you go in and take carpentry, just for an example. I'm just going to throw carpentry out there. And you take Intro to Construction, and you take Intro to Construction Lab. So it's 2 separate classes, 126 and 127. For scholarship purposes, they only count it as 1. So that's extremely exciting. When legislative mandated that, I was like, yes. So the students can get the class and the lab for 1 class, so it doesn't take away from their scholarships. And they can move forward with their additional scholarships moving into that. So that's 2 per year. The college does not handle those scholarships. The only thing the college does is mark the scholarships when they come to us from KIA, and then we pull them into a third-party contract and get the money from KIA. The high school is the ones who handles those. They submit the names of the students, the courses. The students have to apply for them. And when the students apply for them, then that's when all the information comes back to the college. It's the same thing with the dual credit scholarship, but the dual credit scholarship is limited to juniors and seniors only. And it only pays for 2 total. So if a student decides to take 1 their junior year, then they only have 1 scholarship remaining they can use their senior year. And those classes will pay for English, their communications, their history, their math, that sort of thing. We have heard that KIA is willing to approve anatomy now as Work Ready. We're waiting on further. I can say that because we have been told that they have approved it, but we're just waiting on further documentation on how that's going to look. We don't know how that's going to come, into the students' scholarship panels and how that's going to be applied. But that's going to be very exciting for our nursing students to be able to get another free class without using their dual credit scholarship, and they can move that into their work ready. That's going to be extremely exciting for our allied health students. So, and really pre-med students that's going into an allied health, you know, that pathway moving forward. So that's a little bit about how the scholarships work and how the students can get, I think it's 10 total. It's like 8 work ready because they get 2 per year and then 2 dual credit. So it's like 10 total scholarships. Does anybody have any questions so far? It's a lot of information. I know it's a lot. Dual credit has a lot of moving parts to it. Okay, if you have any, just drop them in the chat box, or you can ask me when we're finished. We're getting close. So anyhow, dual credit. You've decided that you want to take a dual credit class. What's your next step? So you're going to talk to your guidance counselor at school. You're going to make sure they're going to allow you to take them, because they do have, you know, they have their own guidelines too. And the college has to abide by the guidelines of the high school. So I have 9 schools that I service. They're all different, and they all have different requirements. You have to meet certain scores sometimes. You have to be a certain grade level, you know, so it depends on the school that you're attending. And that's why we always say talk to your high school guidance counselor first, or your dual credit person. I know Perry County Central has a dual credit liaison now that does that, so that would be the person you would talk to there. You're going to complete the application with us. It's online if we have time. I know we're getting close. Then I'll show you what the website looks like, and you can go and apply. Then you're going to complete your scholarships once they're there. They are deadlines, October 1st and March 1st each semester. But the high school, again, they're the ones who handle that information and pass that on. You're going to choose your classes with the college. So you're going to work with me. And Sonia Fields is the other person that works in dual credit here. And we work with you to see what classes it is and try to keep you in those pathways, and then work with you to make sure that you're logged in and all those sorts of things. I'm moving forward as quickly as I can here. So really quick, I'm just going to guide you through this. This is, and I don't know if it'll let me take you to the website, but we're going to try it. To enroll in the courses even with the KTECH. So our KTECH students taking those CHW classes, they have to do all this too. They have to fill out the admissions application, but I think you have to be accepted into the apprenticeship program first. I'll let Tim chime in if that's true. I think once you're accepted into the apprenticeship program, then you'll start with whatever classes they have that semester, and then we put you in them. Is that how that works,
Yes,
Kim?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is correct.
So you'll fill out the admissions application, then you fill out the dual credit program contract. That's 2 steps. Okay, and I'm going to try this. I don't know if it'll let me. Did it take you all to, can you see the website?
No, it's still showing the power.
Okay, so I'm going to, anybody that wants this anybody that wants the PowerPoint, I have it. Kim doesn't have the latest one because I made some changes. But you'll click on apply I sent the link in the chat box, and you'll just click apply on that front page, and you're going to fill out the admissions application. And then I'm going to drop the link really quick here, if it'll let me. It takes a little bit. I'm going to drop the link here. This is our online dual credit contract. Okay. Don't worry if you don't put the right class in with the CHW, because sometimes we got to make sure what classes is being taught that semester, but we fix it on our end. So that's not a problem. And then you'll get information from me. I send out emails usually once or twice a week with how to activate your accounts and that sort of thing. I put it, this is also, I'll see if it'll let me copy. Nope. This is we have a new website that we just recently downloaded. It has the link to our old one on there too. But the new dual credit webpage is pretty cool, and I'm excited about it because it has a lot more resources for students, and I'm going to drop that in there too. And it has orientation, different things about tuition. It has check. I mean, there's a lot of information in there that wasn't in our old website. So if you want to get in there and take a look at that, I just dropped the last one in that. That's our new website. Now, the contact information here's mine and Sonia's. This link up here, I have a lot of links. This is the link to any college, any KCTCS college in our KCTCS system. There are 16 colleges. And just a little bit of background about dual credit. We all try to work together. They want the students to, for scholarship purposes, it's a little bit tricky if you take it outside of Hazard, but you have to go through me. So if there's a class we don't offer, sometimes we can try to find that at another school that will allow you to take it. But that can be a little bit tricky on the scholarship side, but we will work with you to try to get that done if the availability is there and the other institution will allow it. But we work with them. But I just dropped those contacts, and that's for Ashland on down to, I don't know, Owensboro. I can't remember who's the last one. And so that brings me to questions. I'm at 3:29 and I started 5 minutes early. So
That's okay.
Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, Jamie, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
Are the dual credit students given the same benefits as our college students? For instance, tutoring.
Yes. Yes.
There. Good.
And I have a program called Java with Jama that I do, and sometimes I'll pass that information out with my YouTube videos. I haven't got to do too many of them this semester because I've been by myself a little bit this semester with Sonia being out. But anyhow, I plan to pick those back up in the spring, but we do send that information out. And the students can go on our website anytime, and they can just type in tutoring, and all that will come up with tutoring, with library services, with all that. And they have access to anything available that our current students do. And they are current students. So they're just like any other student. And if they'll check their email pretty frequently, they'll get all the emails that our students get. The dual credit students are not excluded from those.
That's good to know. I didn't know that already.
Yeah, so any like if this went out, or any like events on campus, if they're not in school and we have events on campus, they are welcome to come to that. You know, the high school might have a little bit of, you know, if they're in school, but they might be able to ask the school if they will allow them to come, if it's something they want to come to. They get all those emails from HCTC. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jama. If anybody who needs to know anything about dual credit enrollment, Jama is a book of knowledge. You can definitely contact her and she'll be able to answer your questions.
Anytime. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jama. Okay, so the next session that we're going into is best practices and available resources with Diana Jarbo. She is the KCTCS Apprenticeship Project Director. I am going to, before we do that, I'm going to pull the other door prize, which again is a Hazard Community and Technical College t-shirt, and lunches on us at Subway. Okay, so let's see who the next winner is. Sandra Standish. Sandra Standish, you've won the door prize. Okay, so going on to the next session, I'm going to play you a quick video introduction from Diana.
KCTCS has found great success in expanding apprenticeship by identifying what we call our low-hanging fruit. That's our employers that are already investing in customized workforce training. We see that it's a much shorter leap for those employers that are already investing in their workforce to see that and learn that return on their investment. Geographically, we've also identified best practices in certain regions. For example, in the eastern part of Kentucky, the average household income is lower. So we made a point to create apprenticeship pathways that are free to students. And that is done so for reasons of finding the designated funding available for tuition in specific pathways. Colleges should consider many techniques when expanding apprenticeship. At KCTCS, we've partnered with our state Office of Apprenticeship, both on the state level and regionally at the consultant workforce level. If applicable, Those community partners administering resources to employers and apprentices are a vital partner in our programming. Developing an awareness campaign for middle school and high school students is also critical. We can develop all kinds of programs, but the supply should never outweigh the demand. We're often asked what's in it in the terms of tax incentives for employers participating in apprenticeship. Well, there is no tax incentive for employers or apprentices. Unfortunately, the best thing that we have to offer right now is KEYS money. That's money students earn while they're in high school, and that's based on their grades and national test scores. For employers, there is funding available, but that funding is only on a first-come, first-served basis through state channels, and of course has conditional qualifiers in place. I do look for true tax incentives to continue to be proposed and eventually passed. Until then, KCTCS stays apprised of all general resources available to employers and customized training options that makes our apprenticeship coordinators a great asset to employers.
Okay, that was our introduction video. Let me get the next one up here. Okay, let's see here. Okay. So Diana Jarbo actually couldn't be here with us today, so she sent me the information that she wanted to present, and it's in a PowerPoint, and I'm going to present that for you now. I do have Diana's contact information at the very end, so if you need to contact her or have any extra questions for her, you can contact her. Okay, so this is Best Practices and Available Resources by Diana Jarbo, who is the KCTCS Apprenticeship Project Director. So in this presentation, she has listed the best practices from KCTCS colleges across the state of Kentucky. Available resources, the contacts in your area, and we just played her video. Okay, so in best practices, she gathered a quote from several colleges across the state, and I'm going to read those to you now. Big Sandy Community and Technical College aims to offer registered apprenticeship programs that are free of charge to students. Since the Kentucky Work Ready Scholarship Program is designed to pay tuition for students who have not yet completed an associate's degree and are pursuing a credential in a high demand industry sector, Big Sandy Community and Technical College successfully obtained approval from the Kentucky Higher Education Authority Association for Client Services Coordinator and Recovery Coach to be included to include the Work Ready Scholarship benefits. Employer partners and students participating in these apprenticeship pathways have no tuition costs. At Gateway Community and Technical College, Gateway has expanded apprenticeship by registering I think that's North Kentucky FAME, which is an existing, well-established, work-based learning program for manufacturing industry. The participating employers have experienced a significantly lighter load of administrative responsibilities. At our Hazard Community and Technical College, the KTECH has hired a liaison to be continuously present in the local county high schools and another for the city high schools. They have been instrumental in creating awareness of the KTECH apprenticeships available, as well as tracking the students' progression throughout the process and assisting the students with enrolling and helping them troubleshoot any issues that they may encounter. Another great benefit from hiring aides within the high schools to perform these tasks is their advanced knowledge of the school's policies and their connections that they already have with the faculty, administration, and the students. We allow We allowed the principals to assist us in choosing the right candidates, so the liaisons would be welcome and familiar with the faculty and staff they would be working with. So a big shout out to our KTECH liaisons. That's Dusty Francis and Debbie Wells. Dusty is at the Perry County schools and Debbie is at the city schools. We want to thank them for their hard work. Hopkinsville Community College has had success cross-selling customized training, FAME, apprenticeship, WIOA grant program, youth workforce connection programs, and services. Internal marketing at advisory board meetings has created awareness and resulted in buy-in from the instructors and advisors. Also, social media marketing and video presentations for employers and apprentices have proven to reach a much larger audience than personal visits and communications, as well as streamlining the messaging. Madisonville Community College realized early on that internal marketing and relationship building is a key component to success of apprenticeship at the college. South Central Kentucky Community and Technical College expanded their offering of apprenticeship by partnering with a four-year college to offer RTI for an industry that we cannot serve at the college. Also, developing relationships with faculty has proven to be vital in developing RTI plans and recruiting students and employers to participate in apprenticeship. West Kentucky Community and Technical College finds employers and apprentices are more engaged with apprenticeship conversations when the messages strategically sell the why and not the product. Okay, so here is the local resources for the Workforce Solution Centers at each of the KCTCS colleges. Each college has their own Workforce Solutions office, and these people in these locations can help you get set up with apprenticeship and other workforce solution needs. I'm going to make sure I give each one time for you to be able to collect their information if needed. Okay, so the next set of local resources is, as I mentioned earlier, the WIOA office. And from their website, it says that they offer clinical experience, credit for work experiences, internships, pre-apprenticeships, project-based learning, practicum experience, and cooperative education experiences. Now, we do have representatives from the WIOA office on the call with us, and when I get done with this presentation, we're going to hear from them. Okay, so another local resource is the Eastern Kentucky Concentrated Employment Program. That is EKSEP. I mentioned them earlier as well. We are doing the soft skills training through them, and they offer other trainings for apprentices. They also offer employment services, job seeker services, youth opportunities. They also have their own apprenticeships set up at EKSEP if you want to look into their apprenticeships as well. They also have Teleworks USA and a lot more to offer. So you can go look them up. They are a good resource for you. And okay, so something that Diana mentioned in her video was the Work Ready Scholarship. And Jama also mentioned that in her presentation. The Work Ready Scholarship is available to Kentucky residents, those with a high school diploma and or anyone without an associate's degree or higher. It is not income-based or GPA-based. No essays to write, and it is first come, first serve. It is available for only 4 semesters. The Keys money is offered as a scholarship fund, and it is based on the GPA of 2.5 or higher. That is a required to be eligible for that. The GPA does determine the amount of funding that is awarded to the participant. Bonus funds are also awarded based on test scores, and there is no application for that money when you when you fill out an application for FAFSA, which is the next thing on the list, that goes to the colleges, and based on your GPA is how much funding you would end up getting for that. And that is first come, first serve as well. The financial aid, colleges, all the colleges have a financial aid department where students can apply for the federal Pell Grant funds and for student loan money. Okay, so here are the links to the Work Ready Scholarship. Yes.
Are we supposed to be seeing the slides? Because we're not.
You're not seeing the slides.
No, we're seeing you, which is nice, but no slides.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you for pointing that out. I don't know why it's not showing up. Hold on. Let's see. Ah. How about now?
Yes.
Thank you for pointing that out, because I was just going on and on.
And
okay, I'm gonna just show the slides. Okay, let's see here. Go back to this. I'm just gonna show the slides real quick again, and it is showing. Here we go. Okay. So there is about the KEYS funds. Hang on, it's going back to the beginning. I'm sorry, technical difficulty. Can you see the slides now?
Yeah, we can.
They are showing up. Okay, good. All right, so I'm not going to go through that all again, but I wanted you to see these are the contacts that I had mentioned earlier, which I thought you could see for each of the college locations. So these are the workforce solutions at each one of the colleges in your area. And this is the WIOA information that I was just showing you. We'll hear from the WIOA office in just a minute. This is the EKCEPT information. Okay, and this is just where I was telling you about each one of the resources. Okay, so here are the links to the Work Ready Scholarship. These are, it tells you eligibility information, how you can apply for that. To get started, you would apply at the college or university of your choice. So for instance, if you applied at HCTC, then you would also go fill out an application for a financial aid, the FAFSA, and then you would apply for the Work Ready Scholarship. And the people in federal aid, in the financial aid office and in admissions can also help direct you to the right location for those. Okay, so for the KEYS money, there is no application needed to receive the KEYS money award. For high school graduates, once your college certifies that you are attending classes, they will forward your information to them, and the money will get sent to the school. And even high school homeschooled students and GED students can also qualify for that if they are enrolled in college. Here are the eligibility for KEYS. For a KEYS award, you have to be a U.S. citizen, a Kentucky resident. You have to have at least a 2.5 GPA and attend and graduate from a high school. So that includes your GED, and not be a convicted felon. Here is the amounts awarded for KEYS funds based on the GPA. So if your student goes in with a 3.2 GPA, they would be awarded an extra $300 on top of their financial aid money. Okay, making college affordable. Financial aid office does this. At KCTCS, we believe no one should miss out on a college education because they think they can't afford it. That's why we offer the lowest tuition in the state and 3 ways to pay for that. They got scholarships and grants, the funds that you don't have to repay. And work study is a program where you work generally at the college to earn money to help pay for educational expenses. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I started out at the college as a work study student. And I think it really helped allowed me to work and gain experience in the offices here at the college. It actually fostered my passion for working in higher education. So that's just a stepping stone to lead to something bigger. It allows you to, they work around your schedule. So you're able to take your classes and work when you're in between class times. There's also loans, which is money that is lent to cover expenses, but you must repay that with interest. Keep in mind that you are responsible for repaying your student loans even if you don't graduate. So thank you for attending this session. This is Diana Jarbo's information. If you have additional questions about resources and best practices, you can contact her. And I want to thank her for sending that information to us. Let me get back. Here we go. All right, so I want to go ahead and bring Brian into the conversation. See, Brian, are you on the call right now?
I am on.
Good, excellent.
I am on.
So I have some questions for you. Can you give us some brief details on what resources the WIOA office can provide for apprentices?
Okay, we offer expert resume writing. Our career advisors can work with the apprentices, I guess, prior to meeting with an employer and help them get a professional resume together. We also assist with job search assistance. If you've got an apprentice that may not have found a suitable employer, we could assist with that. We also do mock interviews. So if that employer requests an interview with your apprentice, we can actually work with those guys and help them ace the interview by doing one-on-one mock interviews.
I could see that being very beneficial because a lot of the high school students that start these apprenticeships have never worked before and most likely have never even been in an interview before. So I think those mock interviews would be very beneficial to them.
That is one of our most used tools with youth and adults, actually. You'd be surprised. So our resume and mock interviews are really helpful with that. We also can help with some basic skills, and we can offer some supportive services. If they qualify for WIOA, we could help with some support services. Maybe they're going to work for somewhere it requires some sort of safety clothing or maybe nursing scrubs, something to that effect. If they're going to a specific trade, we could help purchase those things for them.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to ask you, what is the general criteria that they would need to meet to get the assistance and resources from WIOA?
Okay. We have several different programs that do the same thing and with various criteria, but for our youth, they have to meet our low income criteria, and it just goes by family income. And some of our youth barriers include homeless, parenting youth, high school dropouts, if they were in foster or aged out of foster care, or currently involved in the justice system. They would qualify for our youth programs. Along with the resume writing and the mock interviews, we offer a youth internship as well, where we can actually pay their wages for up to 480 hours at prevailing wage. We could actually pay up to it's what the employer offers, up to $15 an hour. So we can assist with that. And for our out-of-school youth, which is somebody who is either graduated and not attending post-secondary or may have dropped out, we offer the same as far as the resume and the mock interviews. Along with, we could also help with college tuition or like a short-term training, the cost of short-term training. We do quite a bit with HCTC. We also help with the Galen School of Nursing. Blindman is one of our big programs that we're working with. We could help with the tuition. They always have belt, boots, test fees. We help with the cost stuff.
So how does an apprentice get signed up for those resources that you mentioned?
Okay, the easiest way in our LKLP service area, I work for the LKLP Community Action, Leslie Knight Lecture in Perry, and I'll also provide a link for the community actions in various areas. But for us, it would be called the Kentucky Career Center in Hazard at 606-436-3161. And as for Brian Fields, my email is also b.fields@lklp.net. Shoot me an email, and I will get you with an expert career advisor and start the process of getting services.
So if someone is not from this area and they want to take advantage of those type of services, are there other WIOA locations across the state?
There is. We work under the EKSIP umbrella. We cover 23 counties. Ours, of course, is the LKLP, Leslie Knight, Letcher, and Prairie counties. 2 ways of finding those offices. You could contact our office, and I will get them linked to their WOA office in their area. Or you could also look at, let's see, it's www.capky.org, and it lists all of the community action agencies in the state. So.
Oh, good. Can you put that in the chat box for anybody that wants to be able to contact their local WIOA office?
I can.
And does anyone have any questions for Brian at the WIOA office, or any questions that I can relay to Diana? Okay, so I'm going to move on. Thank you, Brian, for speaking with us today from the WIOA office. We greatly appreciate your information. It was very helpful.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so now we're just going to go ahead and close out. I want to tell everybody, you know, it's been a successful day of learning and sharing. And just to recap, we learned about the apprenticeship process, the employer's perspective. The key to success is the partnerships and cooperation for everyone involved in those apprenticeships. The importance of the curriculum. We heard about the success stories from our student graduates, the benefits of registered apprenticeship, processes that can be taken towards investing in the workforce of tomorrow, the dual enrollment process, how high schools prepare for those apprenticeships, best practices in apprenticeships across the state, and available resources for apprentices as well as employers. I want to thank everyone for coming today. I want to thank our speakers, Dr. Linden, our HCTC president, Dylan Baker at ARH, Tanya Miller at Primary Care Centers of Eastern Kentucky, Andrea Messing-Mathy at Jobs for the Future, Angela Rogers, Jenny Hampton, Lawrence Winburn, and Sean Campbell at the Office of Kentucky Employment and Apprenticeship Services, Condra Ledford at the Perry County Central High School, Jay McGriffey at HCTC, Diana Jarbo at KCTCS, Allison Brown and Brian Fields at the WIO office, LKLP, Scott Elder at HCTC, our apprentice graduates, Jayla, Jasmine, Jacob, and Gabrielle. Thank you so much for doing sessions for us today. And just a quick additional thank you to our KTECH employer partners, ARH, Primary Care Centers of Eastern Kentucky, UK Healthcare, Hometown Pharmacy, and CVS. Thank you to our schools, Perry County and Hazard. Thank you to Dr. Ella Strong, David Horseman, Jim Means, Evelyn Wood, and Misty Feltner. We will be sending out a follow-up survey on your experience today, and we will post the recordings on our webpage. And thank you all for coming today.